You're listening to Question Reality. Question Reality with Priscilla Leona. Priscilla Leona.
Hi, welcome to the Question Reality Radio Show, coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. I'm Priscilla Leona, creator, producer, and host of this show. Along with our favorite little bat cave technical director and executive producer, Mr. Albert Bico, tucked safely and snug as a bug in a rug in the other office. Just a little bit about our show. For over 20 years, we've been providing our listeners with entertainment industry career advice. So this show is for you if you are questioning your reality about pursuing a career in show business, or if you're already working in the entertainment industry and you just want some tips, advice, or resource information on how to elevate your career. Now, some of the guests on our show have included Oscar nominees, Emmy Award winners, Grammy Award winners, Tony Award winners. We have reality TV stars. We have film, television, radio and music producers and directors. We have talent agents, PR agents, talent managers, publicists, screenwriters, authors, writers, novelists. A lot of people say, why do you say authors, writers, novelists? They're the same. No, they are not. They are three different ways of writing. And we'll go into that when we have a writer on. We have models, musicians, bands. We have comedians. We have script supervisors. We have stunt people, film critics, celebrity makeup artists, celebrity fashion designers. Did I say casting directors? I hope I said that, because that's very important, since we have a casting associate / casting director on our show today. I hope I said that. We have entertainment lawyers on, and the list continues. Basically, if they're working in the entertainment industry, I'm going to lasso them to come on our show to give you the best tips, advice, and resource information, so you can walk down that red carpet, get on your stilettos, and jam it on down, hopefully. Now, if you wouldn't mind following us, if you like our show, it's not like a hostage negotiation, but if you like our show, please follow us. If you missed any of our past shows, here are some ways that you can watch. All of these are under Priscilla Leona, at Priscilla Leona. Remember, every week I talk about branding, how very, very important it is at the inception of your career to really lock down that name, because you are an entrepreneur, you are a brand. So try to keep it at your name so people can find you. So many people, you go to these networking parties and you meet someone and you think, wow, they're very impressive. I'd like to have them on my show, or I'd like to cast them in something. And then you try to find them and they have 5 or 6 different names. Hey, it's me, Boogie Oogie Woogie. Hey, it's Big Bear. Different names. And you go, okay, what does that tell you right away? That already you cut your knees off. You're cut off at the knees because people can't find you. So please keep it consistent. Facebook at questionrealityradioshow.com. We are the website, questionrealityradioshow.com. And then on social media, it's all at Priscilla Leona. And that would be on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, and X. We are there. And Linktree, of course, has all of it. Isn't it like the greatest site? I just couldn't believe someone came up with that idea. I had been saying that decades ago. I said, why can't there be one site where you have a link and then you can put all of your other social media links? And here comes Linktree. Of course, it's got like this funky URL, which is kind of hard. It's link.tr/. It's not the best, but the concept is fantastic. So I would highly suggest that when you are starting your career, that you do get all of your sites on Linktree and you have one social media link that you can pass out. Favor, little itsy bitsy teeny weeny polka dot bikini favor. Please, we kindly ask that if you like our show and our guest, that you please help us out by subscribing and following us on our YouTube channel and all of our social media sites. And we will definitely give you a follow back, because I have an assistant that goes through, and every time there's a new follower, we follow them back. Well, mostly follow them back. It just depends, because again, if I see that I'm a cutie woody, I'm Debbie does Dallas too, no, I can't do it in all good consciousness. I cannot do it. So that's why I'm giving you these tips. Now, do you want to be booked on the show? Yes. If you want to be booked on our show as a guest, or refer someone to promote themselves, their products, their book, I want to say CD, I'm still stuck on that, their song, their download, I don't even know what they're called now. There's so many different things. Showcase their projects, their products, and help listeners, which is most important to me, that you come on the show and you help our audience by giving tips, advice, and resource information. That's the whole reason I started the show, and that is always my main goal. It's my only goal. So if you want to come on and help someone, please go to our official website, questionrealityradioshow.com. You can email me directly at priscillaleona@yahoo.com. And it's super quick and easy. Name, email, and that's it. And then we vet you. You're on to the vetting process. You're on the assembly line. Think Lucille Ball and Ethel on the assembly line. Vetting is happening. Upcoming shows. questionrealityradioshow.com, perfect place to go. So for example, say you want to be a script supervisor and you go, I wish I could find someone. Of course you can go to YouTube and find someone, but you're not going to get me always interviewing script supervisors. However, there are a couple shows, I do have to get more behind the scenes people. So if you know behind the scenes people, I'm really interested this year in booking more production assistants, script supervisors. I love behind the scenes people. They're so very important. And everyone is a team, but they really make it happen. Very, very important job. So a lot of times you come out here and you think you want to be an actor or a director or producer, and then you find, I don't really, and that's not really my jam. Not really digging it. And they become other things like script supervisors, or in costumes or hair or makeup. So I do love to motivate people to don't give up. If you come out here and you've uprooted your whole life and you think you want to be an actor and then you don't want to be an actor, there are many other ways you can stay in the entertainment industry. So if you know anyone, please send them my way. Also, on the 2024 schedule, you can see who the upcoming guests are. Now, I'm very excited, because my friend, Mary Lou Belli, she is a multiple Emmy-winning, I can't say those together. I always have a tongue tie on that. So she's a multiple Emmy award-winning director, Primetime network television. God, you'd have to go on imdb.com to see all of her credits. But some of the shows she's casting, I think, right now, the Miss Pat show, and she was casting NCIS New Orleans. And she gives the best advice. If you have any idea at all how I love this woman, she's so terse and concise, and her information to my guest, it's what I live for. She's a very, very busy person, obviously, so we're very excited to have her. She's going to be on the show next Monday, April 15th at 7 p.m. And I highly recommend, if you're an aspiring director, that you watch the show, or even if you are an aspiring actor, because she really gives great tips to actors, things that you need to know. And that's very important, that you know behind the scenes set etiquette, which She gives great tips. So just check it out. Now, on the 29th, oh my God, my friend is back. Michael Orland. He was the music director on American Idol for 16 seasons. Love Michael Orland. He is the most fun friend ever. He is going to be back on the show again. And if you are an aspiring musician, a singer, band member, please watch the show. He gives great tips and advice. Again, that is my main concern, that the guests do this for my audience. So you don't want to miss him. And he tells the funniest stories about his adventures. So again, he's going to be on April 29th. So two very, very, very important people that you want to definitely check out. Speaking of impressive, important, and very cute people, my guest on the show today is no exception. We had him on the show, I think, a couple times before. I know one, we had a group situation with Carol Ann Leem and a couple other people. And then I think, don't quote me, my God, I've been doing this 20 years. I can't remember how many times every single person comes on, but I think he's been on at least twice, but it could have been once. Don't quote me. But his name is Alan Hooper. And Alan Hooper, look how cute he is. Isn't he just cute? Look at that skin, that baby skin. Oh my God, I think I'm going to scalp his face and just stretch it out, and then I'm going to put it right on over mine, because the weather aging process has begun. I was just talking to Alan about this earlier before the show, but isn't he just a gorgeous little thing? All right, so Alan Hooper, he is a casting associate and a casting director, and for TV, film, and theater. And currently, he is the casting associate for Frasier, which is the new Frasier. Remember the old Frasier? Well, they brought it back. Thank the Lord they brought Frasier back. It is my absolute favorite sitcom of all time. Absolute, hands down. He also was the casting associate on Modern Family. Oh, who doesn't know that show? Oh, that was one of my favorites too. And he also did Call Me Kat. I loved that show. I don't know why. I started watching it and I just loved it. And then for some reason it went off. And then, there's so many shows. It's so hard to go back. You got this 50 million on the queue, and but I love that show. And then he also worked on Superior Donuts. Now you might want to check out his other credits on imdb.com. Or also his website, which he followed all of the smart guy rules, alanhooper.com, which is his name. He branded himself properly. Would not expect anything less. He's a very smart guy. He's also on Instagram at Alan Hooper, and on X, aka Twitter, at Alan Hooper. Now, let me just read a little bit about his bio. As I told you, he is a casting associate / casting director for film, television, theater, and he has worked in casting for over 20 years. And one of his most memorable casting project was the hit TV sitcom I just mentioned, Modern Family. And he was the casting associate for that for the entire run of the series, from the pilot to the finale. So that must have been a dream come true for a casting person. And Alan is currently casting, I believe he's a casting associate for the new iconic hit remake of Frasier. Oh my gosh. I have not watched the new remake. I have the old shows, which I'm rewatching all over again on the streaming platform. And I haven't watched the new one. So that will be a motivation to watch the new one. And did I say Frasier? I swear I'm losing my damn mind. I'm telling you, it's going by the second. I can't remember. I hope I said Frasier. I think I did. I'm not that far gone. But anyway, it's Frasier. Now, other recent casting director credits include Tapa Wingo, which was named Best Indie Comedy Film of 2023. And if we could have that poster, Albert, of woo! I just said the word and I lost. Can you put the poster up, Albert, it's Alan's picture, and then the second one was the poster of there we go. Tapa Wingo. There you go. And again, that was named Best Indie Comedy Film of 2023 by the Interrobang. I hope I'm saying that right. Interrobang. And also he is working with Sci-Fest, which is the Los Angeles Science Fiction One-Act Play Festival. And that Alan Cooper cast for all 3 seasons. That, again, his website is alanhooper.com, and social media at X and IG is at Alan Hooper. So without further ado, let's bring that hot little cutie on the air.
Hello.
I have to take I need some water after that. I've worn myself out.
Best intro ever.
I'm ready for a damn nap now. I've just read too much for the night. So my God, Alan, was I right? Were you on the show twice, or was it just that one time with Carol Ann Lean?
Twice. It was once with the group, which also was Jason Kennedy and Gary Zuckerbrod.
Yes, Jason. Yeah.
And then I was so good, I came back for a solo performance later, but this would be my first time on video, so.
Oh yeah, normally we do audio. Yeah, we dread that damn video, don't we? Well, I do. So very exciting stuff happening. Your career. I mean, you. Oh, by the way, I gotta ask, how's Teresa?
Teresa's awesome.
I was just winging it. I thought, my God, I hope her name is Teresa, because it popped in my head and I said, oh, please let it be Teresa. It's Teresa, right? She's great.
Yeah, she's in another room at the moment watching us, taking notes to give me feedback later.
Oh, wow, you're getting notes. Uh-oh. Do you do a lot of video interviews or?
No, she just likes to give notes.
Oh, she's like, okay. Like, there you go. Albert gives me notes too. My husband's always giving me notes. Now, very exciting things are always happening in your life as a casting director. I know I want to talk about your time, though, because everybody is going to want to know about anything you can tell them when you were working as a casting associate on Modern Family, because you were there from the beginning to the end, right?
Yes.
First of all, how did you get that gig?
Well, I was working with Jeff Greenberg, who's casting director for Modern Family. I had worked with him for like 3 or 4 years prior, and so he got the job, and so then I'm working with him. I get the job. How I initially got the job with him is crazy. I went in for an interview with him and Colin Daniel, who's now part of Daniel Greenstein. I just messed up. Brett Greenstein. They're their own casting team at the moment. So, but I went in to interview with Jeff, and this is 2004, I think, maybe 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And they interviewed me. They said, hey, do you mind going outside for a minute so we can talk? I came back into the interview room, and they said, hey, when can you start? And I went, well, I'm free whenever you need. They went, okay, we want you to take your car, and we're assuming it's on the street, park it in the parking structure. We need you to start literally now. And it was because the person that had the job that I ended up with didn't do it that well. And they had the job for about 2 weeks, and they unfortunately were asked to leave or let go, whatever euphemism you want to use, or fired. So I just got lucky that somebody else didn't capitalize on an opportunity, and through luck, I got that opportunity. And 20 years later, I've had an excellent career.
Wow. So the first day when they put you in your car, where were you off to? What did you have to do? It was Modern Family right away.
No. The first thing I worked on was season 4 of According to Jim.
Oh, I love that show too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you have to do that was so urgent in your car?
They needed somebody that would answer the phones, that would, type the paperwork, make the appointments. And this was back before everything was via email and basically online. So I was in a little back room at a desk with a window, making just call after call after call after call, setting up appointments. The phone rang. I answered it, figured out who they needed to talk to, tried to help them. All the clerical office work. Because when you start, you're a casting assistant.
Right.
And then you move up to casting associate. And then when you get lucky, you sometimes are casting director on your own projects. And you have casting associates and assistants working for you.
A lot of people get confused. I'm glad you brought that up, because you do have to work your way up. So as a casting assistant, a lot of people, I would imagine, if they wanted to be casting directors, it would be a dream job. It usually starts out as an intern position, right?
It did back in the day, but after casting unionized in 2004, we're all Teamsters. I'm a Teamster, if you can believe that. But the internships kind of went away. I mean, if somebody's looking to get college credit, or it's part of something like that, but the old Hollywood, be an intern and work for free, went away in the early 2000s because there were some interns that sued for being used as free labor.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So when you're so your first job is a casting assistant. What is it like today with modern technology? If someone were to want to become a casting assistant, what would their job entail?
Oh, that's a good question. It would be, again, a lot of scheduling. It's, as we put out a breakdown, with what we're looking for, and the agents and managers, send in, thousands and thousands and thousands of submissions. The casting director goes through and picks who they want to see. And sometimes the casting associate has, the authority to do likewise. And then the casting assistant's job is to make certain that all of those requests go out. And in this world, it's, hey, we want them to self-tape. Here's the sides, here's the pages, here's the deadline. And then keeping track of who has submitted, who hasn't. Because believe it or not everybody that you request to self-tape does. And in some cases, they don't even respond to you. I know, they ghost you.
Why would they do that?
I have no idea. I assume it's just everybody in Hollywood gets overworked and things fall through the cracks. But it's crazy. I did the math, and on average, about 25% of the people we request to self-tape do not.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so for those who are not in the entertainment industry, but they saw your picture and thought, oh, he's hot, I want to watch him and see what he does. Okay, so can you describe how does the casting process work? So is there a difference between film and television and theater? Obviously there is, but say I don't know. And how do you go about it? Let's start with film, because you've cast for film, so
yeah.
Okay. So what happens?
Well, the main difference with film is you usually have more time to get everything cast. Like with Tapa Wingo, to get John Heder as the lead for the film, we took like a year and a half.
What was he the main? Was he the one that they wanted, or was it a search for a global search for that?
It was more trying to find people of his stature that would want to play the lead role of this film, because it was a 36, 37 day shoot, and he was filming every day except one. He's the whole film for the most part, along with all the other actors that are in that, but it's his film. And so trying to find somebody of his caliber to play the role. And there were others that we did offer it to before him, but in having seen the film, I thank God they all said no, because he's perfect. And that's what takes so long, is even when we got to John and made the offer to him, there was the agent going, well, what about this? What about that? There's all the negotiations. There's him taking a meeting with the director, then discussing it creatively and just kind of feeling each other out. So the whole process can take a while trying to find like the lead for a film. And then with the rest of the film, it should have taken me 6 weeks to cast it, but we were trying to do it during the pandemic, and the director had to stop production, ended up moving the location from Los Angeles to Richmond, Virginia. And then I worked another 6 weeks on it, recasting a lot of the roles because we had to find locals as opposed to people that lived in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And
So
then
go ahead.
I was going to say with TV, it's like that because when we shoot Frasier takes 5 days to film. So we've got 5 days to cast an episode.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How the hell do you do that? 5 days. Okay, so the breakdown comes in from the main guy, like the producers, the executive producer. Is that where it comes from?
Yeah,
and then it comes to the casting director.
Yeah, we'll talk with either the showrunners or we'll talk with the writer of the episode as to what they want for each role. And then if there's a role that seems like it'll be tricky, we'll put out a breakdown, like a job posting, and just say, this is, I'll give you an example for I don't want to spoil anything for you, but since you haven't seen it yet, I mean, come on. But the last episode of season 1 of the new Frasier, we had to find a 12-year-old string quartet. And so we put out a breakdown, and agents and managers were submitting 12-year-olds going, this one plays the violin, this one plays the cello, this one plays the viola. And then we just, found the best ones and put together a quartet.
Wow. In 5 days, though. I mean, how long are your days? Your days seem like they're 24 hours long. My goodness. But obviously you're union, so you're not walking that late. But okay, so then the breakdown comes to the casting director, and then the casting director says, hey, Alan, this is what we have to cast. These are the characters that we have to cast for this week. Gives you the breakdown. Where is your go-to? Actors Access, LA Casting. Where do you look for first?
Breakdown services.
Breakdown services. Now, is it breakdown services part of LA Casting, or?
No, it's breakdown services and Actors Access are the same company. But breakdown services is what the agents and managers use, and Actors Access is for the actors to submit directly.
So how do you, if it goes to the breakdown services and it's Actors Access, if an actor is submitting for a part through Actors Access, are they really seen by the top A-list, such as yourself, A-list casting people?
Yes. If I put out a breakdown on Actors Access, we're going to look at all the submissions. But typically, we don't put out a breakdown through Actors Access. We just do it through the main breakdown services to agents and managers. But I'll tell you this, when you're looking for a 12-year-old string quartet, you put it out on Actors Access as well, because that's something hard to find.
So you need to contact me first. I know everybody who does weird things, egg tossing, fire eating. If they've got some weird kind of thing, I know them. I don't know how. Don't ask me. All right. So the actor should continue to submit to Actors Access, because eventually the casting director, such as yourself, will see it.
Yes, I would assume so. I can't imagine somebody putting out a notice and not wanting submissions.
Yeah, but if they want, okay, a lot of people who are not in the entertainment industry, but interestingly, I met a couple that were, and they are confused between a guest star, a co-star, and a featured actor. And someone said, please, the next casting director, please get them to explain that to me.
Okay, the guest star is going to work more days than the co-star typically. And the guest star will have a bigger amount of dialogue, a bigger importance to the project than the co-star actor. Co-star actor could have one line, they could have 5 lines. They might end up working multiple days just because of the nature of a show. But the guest star is going to have pages of dialogue.
See, now you would think the co-star, because it's co-star, you would think they were the one that is going to have all the dialogue with the main actors rather than the guest star. But I guess it doesn't work that way, huh?
Well, I think the terminology has changed repeatedly over the last 100 years. Yeah.
Ah.
But the guest star and co-star is more TV. In film, you have like the lead, you have the co-lead, you have supporting, and then you might have featured in there. But all the billing in TV, you'll actually see the billing. Like anybody billed at the beginning of the show is a guest star. We'll say like guest starring so and so.
Yeah.
On the half-hour shows, all the billings usually at the end of the show, you'll see guest starring so and so, co-starring, and then whoever they are.
Got it.
But in a film, you either have just credit at the beginning of the film, or there's that long crawl, at the end of the film.
Yeah. We hate it, but we love to see our name. But when we're watching it, we're not on there. It's like, oh my God, forward. But if our name is there, it's like, pause. There it is. Yay, take a picture. But okay, so once you get the breakdown goes, then you say, oh, I would love to cast. Oh, so all right. So now I have to tell people this. All right. As much as I don't want to say it, first thing when you're a casting person, I am told that it is what you look like because they're casting for a certain look. Is this, I don't think it's always true, but they do say that's why they give specifics, 18 to 25, Asian, African American, white, because the person who wrote it has an idea of who they want that character to be. But I have been in situations and have heard about situations where they have an idea of who they want, but then somebody comes in to audition and you go, oh no, this is my person. And they're not even remotely the same, right? Tell us about that, because a lot of actors don't submit because they are so stuck on the identification process that's given by the casting person. But that's not always the case, right?
It's not always the case, but it is almost always the case.
Almost. Okay.
Yeah, because like you said, the writer, when they're writing the script, they have an idea of who this character is that they created. They have an image in their mind, and they relate to us as best they can what they're looking for. And then once in a while we might have a suggestion of, well, have you thought about this or thought about that for the character? But typically when the boss, the writer, tells you this is what I was looking for, you go, yes, boss, and you go and you find what they wanted.
Yeah.
And there are exceptions to it. The classic one, and this reference gets older every time I use it, but when they were doing Glee on Fox, Robert Ulrich, who was the casting director, Ryan Murphy and other, helped create that show, created the show, but they didn't have a gay character in the Glee Club. And Robert was like, you guys don't have a gay character in the Glee Club. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And they brought in Chris Colfer, who was excellent on the show, but he's one of those examples that they don't sometimes it's not what they were looking for originally. They come up with something else. But that's one example I have of doing this 20 years.
Yeah, I was on Glee. I did a scene with Jane Lynch, and it was so weird because I worked with David Schwimmer way back in the day. I walked into the audition. This was an example because I wasn't what they were looking for, and when David Schwimmer saw me, he said, "Oh no, you're definitely my lady with the blue toe." He was executive producer on that film. It's called Humanoid. And he said, no. And I went in for, a part as an extra, and I ended up getting a speaking role. I don't know. It happens. So when I went to the wrap party, there were so many stars that I met, and specifically Steve Perry of Journey. We ended up doing a little duo. I said, do you know how many hickeys I got to your songs? You owe me a duet. He's like, oh, okay. Wheel in the sky. Okay. So then I met Eric Stoltz, and we were talking about Anaconda, and I retained so much knowledge about movies that I love. We ended up having a conversation for, I'd say maybe almost a half an hour. Flash forward to I get a call from my agent. Yeah, I got an agent. I'm not even an actor. He says, well, whenever we got a role for fluffy people, we are going to call you. I want you on my books. He's from New York. He says, I want you on my books. You got to be on. So I get a call, and my agent / friend, he says, you were picture picked for Glee. And I said, what? He said, oh yeah, Eric Stoltz wants you to be in this role for Glee. I'm like, okay. So then I go to the set, and Eric and I just end up talking. Oh, how's David? Oh, how's this? How's that? But that was a perfect example. He said, you were not the person that we had in mind. And we actually rewrote Jane's dialogue to fit you being cast for that part. Because they did want to, I like to call myself a fluffy person. They did want a fluffy person. I fit the bill. And he said, I knew you. When I saw you, I said, wait a minute, I met her before. So that's a situation that happens when they have one character and then, they could recast. So don't give up hope, people. It's a possibility. All right. So you get all these submissions. So now it's done. Casting, what would you say the percentage is that you actually have people come into your office these days? Because everything I understand now is done via the eCast. Is it
Yeah,
eCast?
from the self-tapes.
Self-tapes. Yeah. So
Breakdown calls it EcoCast.
EcoCast. Yeah. What's the percentage now? Because that invention, don't we love that? That saves so much time and effort and gas. And
I agree. Since the pandemic, the percentage is less than 1.
What? Say that again? What?
Since the pandemic, the number of people we've seen in person would be probably 0.5%, maybe 0.3%.
Oh, that's great.
It's pretty close to 0.
Well, that's unlike the damn hospitals. Everything we could have our appointments via video. Now they want you to come back in. They don't even want to do video visits. That's fantastic. Oh, I love that. Okay. So do you think that with them doing the self-submissions, do you feel that you're getting the absolute best person for that role? Do the self-submissions really give you everything you need to cast the right person? Like you've never cast someone via the e-submissions and then said, oh, damn, that's not who we want, or any problems with that? Is it usually a good process?
Well, one thing to clarify, back in the live audition days, we would cast people and it was not always who you wanted.
Oh.
Being live and in person did not stop that mistake from happening. Oh. It happened frequently. Not frequently, because if you do it frequently, you're not good at your job. But every once in a while, somebody would end up getting replaced, and that was live and in person days.
Okay.
But no, I think the self tapes do. There are some negatives, and don't want to sugarcoat it. There are negatives to the self taping environment, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives completely. And the biggest one is it gives opportunity to so many people that wouldn't have opportunity otherwise. Because with the self-tapes, you're able to see hundreds of people for a role as opposed to 20 or 30. And I was going to say, when we were doing it live and in person, if we were doing a producer session, we bring in 5 or 6 people for a role, and only 5 or 6 people will get a chance to read for it. Now with a small role like that, we might put out 40 or 50 self-tape requests, knowing a number of them aren't going to be interested or available or might not just submit it all anyway, but more people get a chance at it. Now, if you're the 5 or 6 that already were at the front of the line, you hate self-taping. But if you're the other 45 people that now have a chance at that role, you love self-taping.
Do casting directors ever... Because you have so many people submitting, do you say, I liked maybe 3 people in the beginning. I don't feel like going through 500 more. I'm just going to cast from the first batch or the last people you see. So the first or the last. Does that ever happen? Because people say, I
No.
don't want to be the first one. And other people say, I don't want to be the last one. I don't know what it matters.
You can't win. I always go, it doesn't matter if you're first or last. It matters if you're best.
Yeah.
And so, but I would say if you're doing that, you're just not doing the job that well.
That's true.
And if you want to win an Emmy, if you want to win an Oscar for casting,
I want to hear that. That's what I want to talk about now. Oh my God, I cannot believe that it took all this time for the Oscar category to not include casting directors. So for people who are not in the entertainment industry, I think, and you're very knowledgeable, I think 1926 maybe is when, or 29 is when they started the Oscars. It wasn't when they first started it's between, let's just say 26 and 1932.
It's been a while.
And from that time, they've included just about every category except the category that I felt personally was so vital and could never understand why that category was not included. Because how many times have we seen a television show or a film and we go, why did they cast that person? Or we go, oh my God, he was perfect for the casting. I can't believe, for example, Modern Family, the chemistry in casting that show was perfect. It was so harmonious. And there is, I think, a method to the madness. I don't know. Sometimes I guess it happens naturally. I don't know how it works. Frasier, another show, every sitcom that has been on and been a huge success, the chemistry between the characters is unique. The characters are different. It has obviously to do with the writing, but it's the characters being able to bring it to life from the page, which calls for casting, right? Am I going crazy here?
Well, no.
And for them to not to have included an Oscar for someone who came up with the casting for Frasier and Modern Family and Friends and Will and Grace and all the other great sitcoms, that's insane to me. I just can't believe that they finally did it. How did it come to be that it happened, actually?
It's something people have been working on forever.
Yeah.
And I don't know the mechanics of how it all came about. I just know in 2026 is when there'll be the first casting nominees at the Oscars. But there's just been a group of dedicated casting professionals that have been, first they got included in the Film Academy, and then they started, just working whatever the politics are over there to get it done. And I don't know the details. I just know what happened.
But it's been a long time. Didn't anybody think about this like 50, 75 years ago? Has it always been talked about?
Yes, it's always been talked about.
And what was the reasoning? Have you heard any whisperings about the reasoning why they didn't want to include casting?
Yeah, it was mainly, and it's, and the argument the casting people made is kind of how I know what the argument against them were, is that we don't make the decision as to who gets the role. We bring a lot of people to a dinner party, and then the director invites one of them to stay for dessert, the person that gets the role. And so in film, the director is picking who gets the role. The casting director is just giving them options. But there are lots of crafts that have Oscar categories that do a lot of creative work, and the director approves it or asks them to redo it, like set design, wardrobe, editing, score. The director is directing everything and making, suggestions, tweaks, going, no, I don't like the way that cut is. Can we redo that cut? And so the director is making the ultimate decision in a lot of places, but for some reason, casting was the one where they just stuck with it and said, no, they don't get an award. But now, somebody will.
Wow. So now there is criteria now. So Wow. I never thought of it the way you just explained it. But that role, ultimately, the director would get credit for that. So now I'm wondering, how are they going to define which casting company gets that? Are they now like taking that job, so to speak, away from the director saying, okay, well, you chose it, but the casting people pulled all of the people together, so they're going to get the Oscar for finding the people? Is that how they're going to do it?
Yeah, that's how it'll work. Just like I said,
Yeah.
the costume designer, they come up with all these great costumes, and then the director might go, yeah, I don't like that one. This is what I was hoping for that costume, and they go redesign a new one. They
Yeah.
still get an Oscar.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So now the casting people will get the credit they deserve for picking, because the director wasn't the one who did all the work finding the people and gave them options. So it's deservedly so that the casting people should get an Oscar. So now I have rationalized that. I feel so complete now.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, so Modern Family, let's go back to that. I want to hear your wildest story, like the most fun you had casting, if you can remember. Like you go, my God, that was a great casting day. Not necessarily it could be the casting of a specific person or something that happened that is most memorable to you from Modern Family.
Well, I would say the one that always pops in my head is going to be the title of my book, which is 5 Colombians by Tuesday.
Did you really write a book? I didn't even know that. Oh, you didn't write a book. I was like, why isn't that in my promo topic?
But like everybody else, I claim I'm going to write a book, but I've already got my title because we had like Jay and Gloria were doing a wedding celebration, like wedding anniversary celebration, and a lot of Gloria's relatives were supposed to come up from Colombia and be part of the celebration. And there was a huge table of like 5 people that I think it was Cam and Mitch were interacting with, and they had no dialogue. And so we thought, well, these are all going to be, Carla Lewis, our background casting person, she'll find them. And then on Friday afternoon at the production meeting before they start filming on Monday, the director of the episode was like, yeah, no, we need actors, we need to have auditions. And so we're like, what? So we had to go find 5 Colombians, or people that look Colombian. And, they wanted old, they wanted young, they wanted, men, they wanted women. It was supposed to be a hodgepodge of relations, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, all of that. And we scheduled a bunch of people to show up Monday at lunchtime. And it was Fred Savage. Fred Savage was the director of that one. He comes over at lunch to kind of see and picks who he thinks are the best ones, and then that's who shows up on Tuesday. And so we managed to find 5 Colombians by Tuesday.
That is so weird. Fred Savage directed me in an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the aluminum monster. Oh my God, I love him. I loved him as a boy on the Wonder Years, but to experience him when I was on the set, I played a Russian seamstress. Of course, Danny DeVito had captured all of us and was forcing us to do forced labor down in his basement. I think if you watch the show, you remember that. And I was one of the Russians, and there you go. Oh, and you're blurred out again, but that's all right. But it was wonderful working with Fred Savage. I don't know I'm sure you've had that experience, but I thought he was so kind. He remembered every actor's name. He came up and talked to us on our break. I said, my God, I also did a episode on a show. I'm sure you remember, Boston Public, way back 1999. And I just was I had one little tiny word, and Mark Harmon from NCIS was directing it. Oh my God, Alan, there were literally like hundreds and hundreds of people because it was an auditorium scene. And how this man spotted me. I'm being the best extra I could be, because I'm one of these people, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to give it 150%. So even though I didn't have any lines, when I had to go, I was like doing different faces, like, he must have seen me. So when we went to break, he came up and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, and he knew my name. I'm sure he went and asked the casting people or the assistant director. He put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Priscilla, keep making those faces. You do the best faces. Great job. Great job. And that was very hard, I remember. But I thought, that is so kind. He didn't have to do that. So when directors go out of their way, I mean, huge stars like that who now have taken to directing, how do you feel about that? Don't you feel, as a casting person, doesn't that make you feel better about doing your job, working with those people that you admired and watched in shows a long time ago? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, to see somebody, like, because along with Fred Savage, like Bryan Cranston directed a couple episodes. So it's like, oh my God, here's Bryan Cranston. And it was funny. My wife had an aunt and uncle that were in town, and we had taken them over to watch the filming of Modern Family, and Fred was directing it. And they were, oh my God, it's and they were like excited. Yeah. And they got a chance to go say hi to him. So, it's exciting. But I will say that, all the directors we worked with are great and good at their craft. And, but the fanboy in me does get excited with that. Eric Dean Seaton was one of our directors. And he also had published a comic book. And so I was like, oh my God, Eric, you did a comic. And I'm a big comic book nerd. And next thing I knew, he'd given me a copy of, the one he had done, and I still have it somewhere. It's one of my, treasured possessions. Wow. So these are all sorts of little things. With Frasier, James Burrows directed the first 2 episodes. And one of the other directors, I saw her going over to him because Burrows put out a book recently, and she was having him sign her book. And I went up to her and I said, did you have him autograph your book? She went, yeah. I went, me too. I
love that, where you can still get excited about working with people who you admired, because, and as in any job, after you've been doing it for so long, some people do become jaded and bitter, and they don't treat people who are their fans as nicely as they could or should. So when you have people like that you admire, you know that saying, be careful of who you meet, because I can't remember the saying, but the one I'm talking about, be people, the icons, you meet them and then they're not as nice. I have never had that experience. I have never, ever met, and I've met a ton of celebrities, obviously, as you have, and I've never met one where, oh, yes, I have. Never mind. And you know what? The wife, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but the wife of this person who was lovely man, I can't tell you which one, but it was in one of the projects that you casted. And when I was going over your credits, I said, oh my God, he's, I can't tell you what position because you'll know which one it is, but I couldn't believe she was just not nice to my friend, not to me, but he had just asked for a simple autograph, and she said, don't you see I'm having lunch? I don't want to be bothered. No, I'm not signing your autograph. And this person who was the star of the project that you worked on, I looked at him and he turned literally blood red, and put his head down. He was so humiliated. But that was the only experience, and it wasn't me that she was talking to, it was my friend. And I had to say it because I am a Scorpio. Now, I am the nicest person, and I'm kind, and I'm always thoughtful and considerate of everyone's feelings. But when I knew that he was such a big fan of hers. She was a huge star at the time. And I said, you wouldn't be able to eat that lunch if it wasn't for people like him who were paying to go see your movies. And I said it very nicely and kindly. And I said, thank you very much. And I couldn't resist. I've never said that I've never had a reason to say that, but I really felt that she should know that. And, I don't know what happened, but she hasn't made any films since. I think I cursed her by accident. I think I put a voodoo curse on her. But yeah, I couldn't believe that she said that. And that poor guy, he was so embarrassed. But yeah, so you've worked with him, and I bet you he's lovely because he was just humiliated. And they got divorced shortly after. So there you go.
Okay.
But anyway, you have Modern Family. Obviously, what did that run, like 7, 8, 9?
11.
11. 11. Okay. I have been praying secretly to the TV sitcom gods to bring back Modern Family. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But what we have brought back is Frasier. Now, oh my God, when you first watched Frasier, the very first episode, of course, Frasier, wonderful character, but I gotta say, my favorite character was the old guy that sat in the chair, his father.
Oh yeah, John Mahoney.
John Mahoney, loved this man. And another favorite character was the brother who played Alistair.
No, Niles.
Niles. Yes,
Yeah,
he
David
played
Hyde Pierce.
Niles. Yes. Oh my God, there was nothing these two could do wrong in my eyes. I tell you, this was so brilliantly written. And again, the chemistry on that show, when it went off, I remember feeling sad for days. Now, I never thought in a million years they'd be bringing it back. So my question is, thank you, God. I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my to-do list. What was the reasoning for bringing Frasier back? And again, I have not looked up, so I don't know. Did they bring any of the same characters back? So what was the reason they brought it back? And are there any same characters?
Well, with the reason it was brought back, from what I know and being a fly on the wall, is, Kelsey Grammer just loves Frasier. And he was trying, for years to find writers that had an idea that, here's what the next storyline, the next arc for Frasier should be. And he finally found you're going to get me now in some trouble. Joe Cristalli, and I'm blanking on one of my showrunners, and they're going to kill me. But Joe Cristalli and his writing partner, they're the ones that came up with this idea that they had pitched to Kelsey Grammer and said, this is what we think is going on with Frasier 20 years later after the series. And that's what it did to, bring him back and find a way to do it. It's Chris Harris and Joe Cristalli who have created this new Frasier. And to me, it's, where you've had shows like Will and Grace and Roseanne, where they come back and kind of pick up where they left off. With the new Frasier, in my mind, it's more of a spinoff.
Okay.
Because kind of like when Frasier left Cheers and went to Seattle, and then you have Frasier, the original Frasier. Frasier has now left Seattle and gone to a new city. Okay. And there's a new cast of characters. And so it's still called Frasier, which makes everybody think it's it's a sequel because it's still him and his life. But to me, it's more of a reboot because it's him and a new cast of characters.
Oh, see, yeah, that was my next question. I was going to ask you what's the premise of the new Frasier, because he was on the air as a he was a radio personality. What 20 years? What has he been doing for the 20 years? Like, why would we tune in now, I guess, for the new show?
Because he left at the end of the original Frasier. He left and went to Chicago to be kind of a, Dr. Phil talk show host. Okay. And the show has ended, and he's trying to figure out what to do with his life next. Okay. And he ends up moving back to Boston to reconnect with his son, Freddie, who is now grown and turned into kind of more like his grandfather than his father. So he's a blue collar guy. He's a firefighter, and the dynamic between him and Frasier, like the dynamic between Frasier and Martin.
Oh, and who plays his son?
Jack Cutmore Scott.
Oh, off the top of my head. Okay.
Yeah.
Who are the other cast members?
He was in that. He was in this.
Yeah, I'm sure if I see I'm better with faces than I am names. I never forget a face, but a name I may forget. Who? So if he's back in Boston, is there any chance that Lilith will be coming on, or any of the old characters?
Yes, Lilith was actually in season 1 for one episode. BB Newirth came in for an episode, and Perry Gilpin Roz also showed up for an episode.
Oh, I loved her.
Yeah.
Is she still snarky? Was she snarky?
Yeah, she is. She is lovely as lovely can be, backstage, but she is still very, very much raw.
Snarkster. What about the British actress? What was her name? The maid, or was taking care of the father?
Jane Leaves. Yeah.
Yes.
No, Jane has not been on the new one yet.
Okay.
But one of the characters, played by Andrews Keith, he plays Niles and Daphne's son, who is in Boston going to college, and therefore hanging out with his uncle, hanging out with his cousin, and he's part of the hijinks.
Now, see, I must be really getting old, because I did not remember Niles and Daphne ever getting together. I know that they had flirted with the idea, but I didn't know that they had on the show. They got together and became a couple.
They were together by the end of the series.
Oh my God! I think that was during my hot boys phase. I was not. Yeah. Okay. So all right. So we might have an opportunity to see them reappear in the new episodes, right? They may make another guest appearance.
Yeah.
So
the invitation is always there, I'm sure.
So what's he doing now as his career?
He is now a professor.
Oh, at Boston U or
at Harvard.
Harvard.
Yeah.
So that opens it up to a lot of casting opportunities for new people, new young hot guys. Oh, I'm going off on a limb now. I'm gonna have to watch it just to, you never know what's gonna happen. Oh, that's okay. And what network is that airing on?
It's on Paramount Plus.
That's my platform. Okay, I'm going to tune in. And do you like, you never had the opportunity, obviously, to work on the original. How do you like working on this one? What do you think?
Awesome. It's awesome.
Isn't it great?
It's like what we were talking about. It's, being a fan of the original Frasier and now getting a chance to work on the new one. And, you get those opportunities in Hollywood that sometimes they just aren't the best thing, or there's something that's, off about it. But this one is not one of those. This is perfect. This is, the cast is awesome. Everybody that works on it is awesome. It's the writings. I'm going to sound like I'm just gushing, but it's almost like Modern Family. Modern Family, obviously was, lightning in a bottle, kind of like the original Frasier, like Cheers, like All in the Family, like any great show. And so it's just kind of, you're on the up part of the roller coaster having a good time.
I wanted to ask you, and I know you're not a writer, so there's limited information you could give me on this, but not having seen Frasier and knowing what the writing was like back then, which was just flawless in my opinion, perfect. Just there was not one thing I could nitpick. I'm telling you, the shows these days are so many holes in them, and you can just drive a truck through them. But with sitcoms, and this is only my opinion, I'm not saying this is the opinion of everyone, but I have noticed throughout the decades, for me personally, I'm having a harder and harder time finding sitcoms that I think are funny, because the writing has changed and the topics that are being written about have changed. I don't want to say they've become extremely PC, But they've gotten, again, for me, I am having a hard time finding sitcoms that I find funny. And I find myself going, oh no, not this topic again. Oh, not. Whereas back in, say, the 70s, 80s, 90s, there was at least 4 or 5 sitcoms that that was on at one time, that they weren't talking about politically correct things, or you could say things in, how do I say that? You could say you know how comedians, they say things about a certain, like, for example, me, I'm a little fluffy bumblebee.
Yeah, you're like Gabriella
I
Gracia.
love when people do fat jokes. I laugh my ass off. I don't care. I don't think anything about it. I'm like, why is there not more fat jokes? But now apparently you can't make fun of fat people. I'm like, why? I'm fat, I'm white, call me a Karen, do something. Because I feel like the best humor is humor where you're not afraid to attack certain topics or groups or this. And when it gets to the point where you can't talk about this or that or this or that, then it's not funny anymore. So I cannot find sitcoms, which I've given up. Now I'm on streaming watching British police shows nonstop. I can't. But you were, I think, casting associate on a sitcom, which was the last one that I felt had funny in it. It gave me the funny. It was the Call Me Cat.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I thought, wow, now that's some funny shit. And I like how she broke the fourth wall. And so many people, you hang with people in the entertainment industry that's diehard. And they're like, I don't like the fact that she broke the fourth wall and blah, 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 blah. The hardcore theater people don't like that. But I loved it. I thought it was unique and it was original and the writing was good. That's the last sitcom that I've really found funny. So I'm afraid, Alan, I'm afraid to watch Frasier. So I'm hoping that they can give me the funny, because it was flawless. So
Yeah.
what do you think? Am I going to get some funny?
Yes, you will get some funny. You have nothing to fear. Just as long as you go into it with the knowledge that it's him and a new group of people, I think you'll be fine. Some of the people that expected it to be like Roseanne or Will and Grace, they were like, what? And they didn't understand what we were going for.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny. There's an episode that's primarily, everybody's in it, but it's primarily Frasier and Freddie. And the crux of the episode is they've both been set up on a blind date. The woman shows up at the apartment that they live in together. And then it's just a hodgepodge of trying to then making idiots of themselves as they try to figure out whose date she is.
Oh, I like that. Now, see, I like that. What is that called when it was what is that called in comedy where you think it's one thing and it's actually another, but you're not sure? There's a name for it, and I'm going to have to ask Mary Lou Bell on that one. But I like that kind of writing where there's so much misunderstanding and miscommunication, and that's what makes the funny for me. But again, it's subjective. But do you feel like, as a casting person, you have seen what I'm talking about a little bit, where some shows, not just sitcoms, shows are just becoming too politically correct and it's taking the funny out of it?
Well, yeah, I think any show, whether it's a comedy or a drama, if they're focused on a message they want to put out there as opposed to entertaining people, it's not going to be as fun. I think if you're focused on bringing the audience an entertaining show that they can enjoy, whether it's a drama that just like This Is Us that made me cry for 6 years. I swear to you, the first season, every episode, Teresa, my wife, would turn and go, "Are you crying again?" And it was characters that I came to feel like were, I was part of their family that I loved. And they had a lot of stuff in there that you could say was kind of a message, but it was just part of great storytelling. Kind of like All in the Family. All in the Family had a message repeatedly of where they tried to make society better, but they did it while entertaining everybody first and foremost and making you laugh.
Yes.
And so I think people, when they lose that they're supposed to be entertaining the audience, that's when it gets into what you're talking about.
Yeah. I have a friend, her name is Maddie Carruthers. She used to work on All in the Family. She was the script supervisor for Norman Lear. And she worked on the Jeffersons, and she worked on all the great sitcoms. Yeah. And then I have a very dear friend named Ernest Lee Thomas. I'm sure you know him. He was the star of What's Happening back in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
And he was Mr. Omar on Everybody Hates Chris. So he was the one that says tragic. So we were talking about how comedy has changed over the decades, and it's so many political issues that are causing they're sucking the funny right out of the sitcoms. So as a result, I was looking at the Primetime schedule, and I can't find any sitcoms that are coming up on Primetime for the fall. And I know that there's reasons, the pandemic and all this stuff, but we've been back a while. And are you feeling that as a casting person, are you hearing or seeing that they are going to be limiting the sitcoms that are being developed for television? Because it's crime dramas nonstop and fire and medical, which I love.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, there's reasons for that. With the comedy itself, I think everything goes in cycles. And you have like a great run of comedies, and then it slows down just because of the nature of things. And then something else comes, and boom, it's off to the races again. I always think back to The Cosby Show. The Cosby Show was, a phenomenon at the time it was there. And there were so many other great comedies that kind of happened around it. And then at some point there was a little bit of a lull. And I remember this because this is when I got out to Hollywood and was working. And everybody was like, what's going on with comedy? When's it going to get back? I said, you just need another show like The Cosby Show that is funny, that the whole family can watch. And then I happened to end up working on the show, Modern Family, which was funny. The whole family could watch. Everybody liked it, for the most part. Yeah. And there were all these other family comedies that came up that like the same year as us. So it's not our influence, but the same year that we premiered, The Middle premiered. And The Middle was good, and it ran forever. You had Big Bang Theory, you had Two and a Half Men. So I think what's just happened is comedy's taken a lull. And the two shows I look at now that are, I think, typically the whole family can watch, and they're funny and they're good, and hopefully they can start a resurgence, are Abbott Elementary and Ghosts. And they're not sitcoms, they're single camera comedies. But I think both of those shows are extremely well done.
I heard they canceled Abbott Elementary.
Oh, no. No.
That was wrong information.
Yeah, that was disinformation.
Yeah. Ghosts I love. I haven't watched Abbott Elementary yet. That's on my to-do list. So is This Is Us. And I know that's been off for a long time. Oh. And everyone says, you haven't watched it? No, there's so many shows, but that is on my to-do list. And now that I hear that you were a big bucket of tears, I'm going to definitely watch, because I can't imagine that it did that. So you think it's just a lull in comedy, and it's gonna come back? Because I don't know. I'm hoping.
It just takes, somebody to have just a great show that everybody watches, and then everybody else will try to, ride that wave, and it'll be off to the races again at some point.
There's so many, Alan. There's so many channels now. It is so hard to find things. For example, I have a friend that started another streaming platform called Best Ever Channels. And it's sort of, I guess, equivalent to like Hulu. And he just started it. And he said, hopefully we'll catch on. And I remember thinking, wow, he is the CEO and founder of a streaming platform, another one. And he's saying, hopefully we can. And he was saying there's so many platforms and we have so many channels and so much to watch, it's hard to actually find good sitcoms. It's like they're being buried. They're buried with, cop shows and fire shows and this. And I think it's true. So I'm hoping that the comedies make a comeback. And with Frasier having that name, I imagine everyone from the old audience, he had a built-in target audience.
Yeah, I would imagine so. We did it in front of a live studio audience, and they, it was just.
Oh, you do?
There were so many people trying to get into it that they actually had to create a bigger section of the audience so they could have more people come in and watch.
Oh my God! So they film Frasier in front of a studio audience? Oh. Where's it filmed? I'm gonna have to go stand in line.
It's over at Paramount Studios.
At Paramount. Oh,
I might be able to hook you up.
Yeah, my friend Jason Michael Kennedy's his satellite office is over there.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hook me up. We'll do a group thing, or I'll call Jason. Yeah. That'll be fun. And I have a friend. Her name is Beverly Pomerantz. She's a casting director for game shows. So she's casting for a new show that's going to be on this fall with Jaleel White. Remember him? He was Urkel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a new game show. And so I'm excited about that because I met him one time at Universal. Oh, that was so sad. I met him. The show had just canceled. My friend was here from Maryland. And we took pictures with him and got autographs. And someone broke into the car and stole my friend AJ's camera. So I'm hoping to get, but that's so tacky. I don't ask actors for pictures. But gosh, I want to say, oh, Jaleel. So I told Beverly, I'm coming on the set. And I'm going to say, do you remember you met me that one day in 1994? No, but there's so many exciting things happening. Now, I think I told you earlier that I'm doing a lot of producing of films now, mostly independent films, of course, and short films. And my favorite genre in the whole world is Christmas films. So I have been producer on 2 so far. And because they shoot in other states, I haven't been able to insert myself as an extra. But I see that you cast for Merry Happy Whatever. And that's probably the only Christmas movie I haven't seen. Do you know, during the pandemic in 2020, I watched 114 Christmas films. What? And then 2021 was 97. Oh, you don't know, there's something mentally wrong with me when it comes to Christmas. But it has to be Hallmark because, come on, you got the beautiful snow coming down and the backdrops, and they all look like Vermont. And of course, it's the same old boy meets girl, boy loses girl, girl goes to it's been done, but I don't care because there's always great music and there's always an opportunity for me to get a part as a background actor. So I saw that you cast for Merry Happy Whatever, and I said, damn, I did not tell Alan that I want to be an extra. So the next time he's on my show, I would love for you. I will work without pay, which I know you can't do, but I need to be an extra. So anybody casting any Christmas projects, I want to be an extra, even if I'm way in the background. Hey, so let's make that happen.
I hate to tell you this after the fact, but the Frasier season 1 finale was a Christmas episode, and they repeatedly mentioned Hallmark films.
Son of a bitch. I'm always missing out. My whole life, I've just wanted to be an extra in a Christmas film, and I'm going to die, and I'm not going to get to be an extra. Well, I'm going to put my feelers out. I've decided this is my year. But what did you... Oh! Starring Dennis Quaid.
Mm-hmm. It was a short-lived Netflix series. It was 8 episodes.
Oh, it wasn't a movie?
No, it was a sitcom. with Dennis Quaid.
I love Dennis Quaid. Love this man.
Yeah. So anyway, the premise of it was he had this huge family in Philadelphia, and his youngest daughter, who had been in Los Angeles, comes home with her boyfriend to introduce him to the family. And then, hijinks ensue. There's,
Of course.
lots of kids, lots of grandkids, and just craziness happens. He plays a police sheriff.
Ah.
And he's like the conservative, old school, patriarch of the family.
Now, how can I watch that? Is that available on Netflix or Paramount?
I'm fairly confident it's still available on Netflix.
Oh, I'm going to see that. Mary, happy, whatever. Now, were you casting associate or casting director on
Casting associate.
Casting associate on there. Okay. Now, let's talk about this feature, honey child. Tapa Wingo. Tapa Wingo. First of all, I've never heard that word. Is that word, does it mean something? Is it a saying or?
Brad DeMera, the writer, just thought it was a cool sounding word.
Yeah.
But it is, there was a summer camp called Tapa, in some city called Tapa Wingo. And there's like 2 or 3 cities, I think, in America that are named Tapa Wingo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe. And so this was starring the guy, John Hader?
John Heder. A lot of people know John as Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah. I saw that. So casting director on that or casting associate?
No, casting director.
Casting director. Woo! And so this was, you were. Now, what did you have to do as a casting director that was different than than as a casting associate? What did you have to do?
The main difference was I have to make certain that we find people for all the roles, and if there's a problem, it's me. I'm the one in charge, so I have to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah. But you had to hire. So when you were asked to be the casting director, you immediately had to get your casting associates.
Well, right? It was because it was an indie film. I actually didn't have an associate, and because we were doing it during the pandemic, my casting assistant, believe it or not, was my wife Teresa.
Ooh, I hope you paid her and didn't tell her, well, hit you up after midnight on a Friday, girl. No.
Well, the joke is what's mine is hers and what's hers is hers.
Oh, men love to say that. I'm going to talk to Teresa about that. Okay, so featuring Tapa Wingo. So what is it about? Why and where can we see it? But why, more importantly, why would we want to watch Tapa Wingo?
Okay. I have to say, it is people that like oddball comedies and just, something that's inventive, that's creative. It's its own little world. It's kind of hard to describe, but mainly John Heder plays a guy that still lives with his mom, is got a job that he doesn't really like. He's trying to figure out what he's going to do. He wants to be a mercenary. And he's got a buddy, and they're trying to figure out, how they're going to, break into the mercenary world. And he gets asked by his boss to pick up the boss's son and take the son somewhere. And he ends up making a connection and having, like an older brother, big brother, little brother, connection with the kid. And the kid's been in some trouble because he's got into, he has stolen some stuff from the town bullies, and they're looking to beat the crap out of him. And it's, John coming in to try to save the day and help him out. And it's him, Amanda Bierce, who is Marcy Darcy on Married with Children. She plays his mom.
Yes.
John Ratzenberger's her boyfriend.
Tears. Yeah, not Norm.
Cliff Craven.
Cliff. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Shoot. Billy Zane's in it. He's the head of the family of the bullies. And it's, I'm watching the film, and I'm like, he comes on the screen. I'm like, I can't believe Billy Zane said yes, he's doing our film. It's just amazing.
God, that's cool.
Gina Gershon's in it.
She's in.
I shouldn't say it's a really good cast because I did it. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was really
That's a
proud.
Great cast. Yeah.
Really proud of what came together with it and who's in it, and also the like the Richmond and the East Coast locals we found that populated and bring it to life as well. Where you would see it is, I don't know yet. They're still looking for a distributor. It has shown at some film festivals, and that's how it ended up getting on the best of list of the Interrobang website.
Now, did you enter that into either of my film festivals? I'm judge at Sholo Film Festival and Burbank International Film Festival.
Oh.
Did you international?
I don't know. Dylan Narang, our producer.
You don't handle.
No, Dylan Narang directed it, and he's also the producer of the film, and he handles all of that. I just find out when we're showing somewhere, and he tells me.
Right. I deal more with the producer aspects. That's why I'm asking that. Okay. Well, yeah, because I went on IMDb and I was looking up your credits and I did not see that this was on your credits. So I thought, oh, well, it hasn't been distributed yet. They haven't done anything yet.
Hold on. I have to immediately go out to IMDb and fix that because it should definitely be on my credits.
Yeah, go on. Get Trace on that. Yeah, I didn't see Tapa Wingo. But that sounds fun. I like that. I like the plot line of that. So keep me abreast of when that comes out because I want to see that. Okay. Now, what is this? Now, correct me if I'm saying it wrong. 10x4 acting studio is what you started online during the pandemic?
Yeah, I just call it the 10-4 acting studio.
Oh, 10-4. Okay. 10-4.
But I did do that little carrot thing.
Yeah, I didn't know what the hell to say. I'm like, well, is that 10x4? Is that 10 up? I couldn't figure it out, so I just went with 10x4.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, he's from Louisiana. I'm going to go 10x4 because he probably hit somebody in the head defending himself as a kid. 10x4 because I did.
Well, I spent way too many hours trying to figure out what to name the thing.
Uh-huh.
And then that popped in my head, and there's 3 reasons behind it. My acting coach way back in the day, her name was Molly Benson, and when she told you to do something, you went, Roger that, which is kind of like saying 10-4.
Yeah.
Also being a Teamster, the truckers are always saying 10-4.
10-4.
And then the reason it's got that little carrot is 10 to the power of 4 is 10,000. It takes 10,000 hours to be an expert at something. Also 10-4.
Oh, yeah.
I spent way too much time figuring that out.
Yeah, maybe 10-4. That way they'll know it's 10-4. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to rewrite that. So, all right. So you started this online during the pandemic. Thank goodness you were being proactive and keeping things up. So what do you still have your 10-4 acting studio?
I do. It comes and it goes because like when I'm working on Frasier, I'm focused on working on Frasier.
Right.
And so, I might have a handful of students that I'll see on the weekends when I'm doing a show that, I've already been working with. But once the show is over and I'm back to, being between gigs, people will contact me and I'll be like, okay, well, let's see what you need. And what I try to do with it is while I have lesson plans I could use, what I really try to do is meet with the actor, see what the actor is looking for. What training do they already have? What are their goals training wise? And then just try to custom build, a plan for them. And then because it's all on Zoom and it's easy peasy that way, they can pick the day and time they want to do it for the most part. And it's not everybody showing up at 7:00 on a Thursday night and 20 people in a room. It's you with me on Zoom for 30 minutes. And boom, there's your private lesson for the week. And it's tailored towards the actor's, needs and what they're looking for. And some people come in and they study for like 4 weeks or maybe 3 months, something like that. And then there's others that I've had studying with me for a couple of years.
So you don't have master classes. They can be at any level, beginning, intermediate.
Yeah, any level. But I would say I treat them all as a master class because you got to set the bar high if you want somebody to grow.
Right. Now, so I didn't see a website for that. Where would we find out information about your acting studio, 10-4?
You can go to alanhooper.com and then there's a little button on the main page that you just click on.
And that'll take you to a website, or what does that go to?
Yeah, it'll take you to a website.
Okay, and that'll have prices and stuff. I mean, because
Yeah, it has.
I find talking about prices so, I don't know. I don't like talking about prices. I'm like, here, take my wallet, get out what you need, and then give it back. Right.
Yes, the
So
prices are listed there, and
on that link.
And from my research, it's probably about the same as a lot of other classes.
Very comparable.
I
So,
would think so.
would you recommend your acting studio if people, what technique do you focus on? Because there's like English, there's method, English, math, Stanislavski, Stella Adler, I mean, millions. What would you say you focus on closest to, or do you have your own unique?
I would say the two biggest influences for me are Molly, who I studied with forever, and her technique was whatever works, you do. And she would treat it like a gym, and you would go into class and she would just throw cold reads at you, and like a couple of people would get up to do a cold read of a scene, and then she'd work it with them, and then everybody else in the class would get up and do the same scene. And it really was a gym. It's just, here's what we're working on. Here's what we're working on. Here's what we're working on. And what I felt she taught that I tried to teach is she taught instinct. In doing that, that way, you just, you did great or you didn't do great, and your instincts just got honed and you just figured out what was going on. The other big influence was Michael Shurtleff, who is no longer with us. He wrote the book Audition. And I took a seminar with him in the 90s, and I recently reread his book and didn't realize how many things he taught me in the mid 90s are just ingrained as things I believe, and had forgotten like exactly the source of them.
Right. Now, that's a good, that led me to another question. What do you feel? I don't feel it would hurt, but if you want to be a casting director, don't you think that aspiring casting people should take acting lessons? I believe you should start from the beginning. If you want to be a producer, a production assistant, be an extra, learn everything on the set. Do you feel like that they should take acting classes? Because how can you teach if you don't know the basic techniques, right?
I would guess so. I think those that have done it can have an empathy for the others that are trying to do it, I would say. Well, okay, that's a double-edged sword. If somebody's struggling and they're trying really hard and they want to get this, role, I've got empathy for them because I know what that journey is like. If somebody hasn't put in the work, if somebody is taking it easy and being a little lazy about it, I get a little more irritated than somebody that doesn't, get it exactly. I know what they're wasting that somebody else could have had.
And are you able, from experience, to know the difference between an actor who's doing what you just said, not putting in the work, as opposed to someone who really has worked very, very hard? Do you know that immediately when you look at them at an audition?
I would not say immediately. There's little things. You just get an instinct for it, that you see somebody that's not doing good work. And as when you're doing the audition process, if somebody's not good, you usually go next and move on to the next person.
Yeah.
Maybe you end up it's from teaching. I have been able to, they both kind of feed each other. From the teaching, I get to learn where an actor is coming from. If they're not doing well, we discuss why it's not going well. And sometimes they'll go, I'm sorry, I didn't work enough this week. Or other times they'll be like, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. And we figure out, sometimes an actor has done a lot of preparation, but then they don't end up getting like connected to themselves. And so that preparation doesn't come out.
Yeah.
And so things like that I discover from teaching, then I can see it and recognize it on instinct in the real world, but it doesn't, necessarily go into play in the casting world, because casting world, my job is to get the role cast.
Right.
not teach an acting class.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes you end up trying to give, redirect, feedback, notes. You're trying to help the actor along.
Yeah.
And if you can give them a few pointers and they can implement them, then great. They send you another tape, or, when we're doing live, they just, give it another swing and you see that they can take notes.
Right.
But you're not going to teach them a lesson and hope they can
Lesson.
incorporate it on the fly.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, that happens a lot. But I was just thinking about the things I've cast. There were people that came in and they were supposed to do one character and they decided they have rewritten the lines because they think it would sound better this way. If you had that experience too,
yeah. For 20 years, I've been trying to tell actors, do the script as written.
It
please.
is written. And there will always be someone who comes in and they feel like they need to give you notes as to why it's not written well. But to follow up on the acting studio thing, do you use scripts with your students from your previous projects? Or what scripts do you do sitcoms, because that you are an expert in sitcoms?
Yeah, I focus a lot on like comedy scripts and comedy, helping people with comedy stuff. But I'm really there to help as best I can the actor with whatever it is they want to work on.
Okay.
And now my expertise is comedy, so I'm going to be more likely to be a better coach at comedy. And there's probably other coaches that would be better at drama. But yeah, I usually focus on comedy with the
So if somebody wanted to have you as a teacher and they said, hey, Alan, what could you give me the script, some sitcom scripts, because I really would love to be a sitcom actor. Would you be able to do that?
No, I normally don't give like full scripts out because that's, somebody else's
How did they find
property,
it?
so to speak.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering about that because I've gone to classes a long time ago, and I guess they might be more strict now, but the teachers were giving out material for us to work on in the class of sitcoms they had worked on, which I thought was great. I loved it because a lot of times it was like, oh, I love that. Oh, yeah, but I understand that that's not legal to do. So my question is, how would a student work with you if they wanted to do sitcoms? Do you suggest the material, or do you say, well, bring whatever sitcom you want? But then if it's illegal, how do you work with them?
Well, I would say a lot of the material I have is stuff that, has been on the air and people have transcribed what was on the air and then they use it, within the class.
Okay.
And there's some actors that write their own material. There was one actress I was helping, and she was like, I really want to work on science fiction stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me see what I can find. And luckily I'd done the casting for the Sci-Fest Film Festival. I'm sorry, not the film festival, Sci-Fest Play Festival. And I went through and I was looking at all those scripts going, is there anything I can pull from here? This is some weird stuff we did, some cool stuff. Is there anything you can work on there? But it's just, I'll watch, what was it? I'm watching a show on Freevee.
I love
and it's called The Boat Story or Boat Story. It's
I got that on my list to watch.
Well, it is so good. But there's a scene in the first episode that I'm like, oh my Lord, this is perfect for like a student of mine. And I sat down, I transcribed it, gave it to him. I said, don't watch it. Let's work on it and see what you do with it. And so that's what'll happen. I'll be watching shows. I did the same thing it was on FX, a British show called Breeders that just had some really good scenes for teenagers. And so I was pulling scenes from it, for when I have teenage actors that are students.
Yeah. Oh my God, we like the same type of shows. I'm ready to ask, do you watch Doc Martin? Do you watch Harmon? Do you watch this? Do you watch that? Oh, we like the same shows. Wow.
Oh, then let me give you one before I forget. If you like British shows and you like Call Me Kat, have you seen Miranda?
with the tall lady, the real
Yes.
tall lady. Yes, she used to be on Call the Midwives. I watched that. I've watched that twice. She's hysterical. I love the way she executes that character.
Yeah, she's
Oh my
phenomenal.
God. Well, and I'm going to ask you, have you seen Fleabag?
I have seen Fleabag.
I love that show. Oh my God, I love it. So we've got the same taste in I find that now, since I couldn't find anything, I mean, yes, I do my Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I have to watch my Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago. And then I do my Law and Orders on Thursday, and then my FBI's on Tuesday. But I cannot find anything on Monday and Friday. So that is all British sitcoms or British shows. And now I've expanded my repertoire. Now I found great show Luna and Sophie, which is a German show. Oh my God, it's so good. And now I watch a show from Norway called it's about a hotel. Oh, it's so brilliantly written.
I know what you're talking about.
Hotel Seaside Hotel. That's what it's the American translation. Yeah, it's where there's that it's during the Nazi occupation. Yeah. And
I'm thinking of a different one.
They have all these guests that come. It is so funny. The comedy in those shows, the Norway shows, the German shows. I said, why would I ever watch American attempts at comedy anymore when they have all these great shows? So now I find myself only there is I would highly recommend this, and I know you would love it since we have the same taste in shows. It's called The Dairy Girls.
Yes, I've seen it all. I've seen all of it.
See, we like the same show. Oh my God, I love that. The last episode when they were voting for the Friday Agreement, which I'm sure you know what that is, I was crying. I mean, that was it's a comedy, but when they went in that direction, because I'm familiar with British and Irish history, I'm Irish and English, so I'm very familiar with the comedy, and it's so funny. And then there's a comedy which I'm holding on. I keep going back. It's called Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Yes.
You know the one that Irish.
I do know.
When I first watched it, I was so funny. And then that's another case of him dressed like a woman breaking the fourth wall, like Call Me Cat. But it's really funny. You got to give that. It's Mrs. Brown's Boys. Yes. It's a man dressed like a woman, but it's from a while back, and it's very, very, very funny. But there's so much great television, sitcoms, and funny shows on foreign television that I have a hard time coming back. So I'm going to give Frasier a try. But
we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back to America.
Bring me back. I love Frasier. Now, we talked about that. Oh, somebody asked me what is his name? Tony from Taos, New Mexico. Okay. Tony from Taos, New Mexico, because I asked people to send me questions for you. Yeah. He said, hey, Alan, it's not ALLIN, but okay. Hey, Alan, what techniques do you use to source talent for one of your productions?
Primarily, everything comes from breakdown services.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Or also I've got spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet of like every actor we've ever seen, and I can do searches, and the computer helps my brain, keep stuff in there a lot more.
You put little notes like, she was a hot little fluffy thing that I'm going to cast as an extra one day in a Christmas movie. Do you put notes, or you know what I mean? Do you put notes, or she came in and stunk the whole place out with too much perfume, or he was really funny, we didn't cast him for this, but maybe I'm going to bring him back? Do you keep notes like that? Do casting directors keep notes?
Yeah, we keep all sorts we keep lots of notes like that, because that way we can pull from our files as opposed to having to put out a breakdown. But I mean, I also just watching TV, I'll see people on, TV or in a film that I just am not aware of for whatever reason. And I'll just take a note of that. Or if I see somebody I do know on a show, it just helps solidify what I, think of them and helps me think of them more often.
I was producing this short film, and they needed a little girl, and I knew exactly when I read the script who I wanted. And I bet you remember this commercial. It was a little girl. I believe she might have been little African American girl, beautiful. And she's in the commercial with her mother, and it's a dishwashing commercial. And her line is, I can't remember verbatim, but it's, if you're already washing the dishes, why do you have to put the dishes in the dishwasher to wash them again? And she executed that line so well. I said, oh my God, we have to have her. Oh my God, we have to have her. So we ended up having the worst time tracking her down. So my question is there a way, because I had to do a lot of research. I had to Google it, and then this, and then I had to go into YouTube, and then I found the commercial, and then I had to find the advertising agency. It was a process. Is there any way for doing what you just said you did? If you see an actor on a commercial, or how do you find them easily if you're a casting person? Is there a certain?
To be honest, I haven't found actors from commercials frequently enough to remember what it is, but I think there's a website you can go to check it out. I know, like with casting, we have like a Facebook group that you'll see somebody go, hey, I'm looking for so-and-so. Anybody know how to find them? And you can also, with Breakdown, I think you probably still can. You can put out an actor search and go, hey, we're looking for this person. And you just send it to all the commercial agents, and hopefully one of them calls you and says, this is who you're looking for.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's Charles Barkley. It was one of the basketball players that was on Modern Family. Occasionally somebody would be like, will email me and go, hey, we know Charles Barkley was on Modern Family. How do you get to Charles Barkley? And I'll be like, well, here's who he was with, 5-6 years ago at this point. And that's kind of who we are sometimes. One of my first jobs, before working with Jeff, I worked with Gilda Stratton, who cast Night Court in Caroline in the City. And she would sometimes go, I want you to find this person. And I actually had like a little YouTube clip of the Magnum PI theme. And when it took me a day or two to find somebody and I finally found them, I'd play the Magnum PI theme.
Oh my God. Yeah, I see so many actors. Well, lucky Jason Michael Kennedy is a friend of mine because I saw a couple actors that he had on because his company used to cast for, I think he's out on his own independently now, but he used to cast for, I think Harry Greenspan. Anyway, I would see actors that he would have on NCIS because he was casting for that in NCIS.
Yeah, it was Susan Bluestein that he was casting with.
Oh yeah, Sue Bluestein. Yeah, I get so many. And luckily I would see and I'd go, hey Jason, can you? And I had him, but I mean, if I don't know the casting director, then it's a process trying to find them. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So if there's anybody out there, you could start a company. You can make a lot of money doing that. Yeah. This question is from Joanne from Fort Pembleton.
Yeah.
She says, hey, Alan, how do you approach casting for a diverse cast and ensure inclusion and representation? Good question there, Joanne.
Yeah. For me, the way you do that is you realize anybody could be a doctor. Anybody, could be a lawyer. Anybody could be, any profession. And you just keep yourself open to great actors and always trying to make certain. I will say with like Tapa Wingo, we were trying to get the SAG-AFTRA credit for having a certain level of diversity in the cast. And with that, I created a spreadsheet, and I was keeping track of who fit which category and how much credit they would give us. So there's tools that will let you do that as well. But I think at the end of the day, it really is just seeing the world in a colorblind way, like Dr. Martin Luther King wanted us to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see it that way, you're just looking for the best actor. And then you end up with a cornucopia of different people that, just end up populating the world that you're trying to put forth. What was it? When we did Sci-Fest, we did Neil Gaiman, the writer, he did a short story called The Case of 4 in 20 Blackbirds. And it was like a crime noir short story starring Little Jack Horner. And it was all nursery rhyme characters. And when we were doing that, my producer was like, he wanted a short actor, like an actor like 5'6", around there, 5'6", 5'7". And there, some stars that are that height that we were trying to, fingers crossed, they'll come want to play with us. And I said to him, I said, if we're going to do this, there's a lot of great actors that are little people. Let's see if any of them are interested. And Mark Povinelli, who ended up playing the role, it's one of the pieces of casting I'm most proud of because he was so phenomenal. It was like a 20-minute, one-act play, and he's the gumshoe, and he's talking about the dame, and he's, he's trying to solve the case of one H. Dumpty that had been killed. and if you look him up, he's got a resume a mile long of great credits. And he just wanted, to do some theater, and he liked the script, and he thought, well, this would be fun to do for a few weeks. And he, graciously came and, we offered everybody those roles. We didn't do many reads for those because it was people of note like him. So that was one where I was just keeping an open mind to the best actor. And this was the kind of role that, that he could just nail. And it worked really well.
Yeah, I was just thinking when you were looking for that person, immediately Peter Dinklage came to mind for that character, but I think it might be a little shorter than that. But he's a phenomenal actor, and there are so many actors that I don't know if scripts are being written. I guess it all comes down to the demand. And I was so happy to hear about the DEI because I fit so many of those boxes. I'm fluffy, I'm white, I'm this, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be beating my doors down to get me in all these roles now. Because before the casting went pretty much to a certain type or types of people. And I'm just wondering, I have a friend, and I'm sure you know her. I think she's on the board now, SAG-AFTRA. Her name's Eileen Gruba. And she is working to get people with disabilities included in more sitcoms and more film and more television shows. And I was wondering, have you been hearing anything where they're writing, now that they have such a big push for the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, people, are they writing the scripts? Because it's great to be on the path to include them in acting parts, but are the scripts being written? Because that's what has to happen first. What have you heard?
Well, they're always trying to keep things inclusive. And as I'm looking down, I'm using my brain to try and, I'm like, I've got this memory. I got to remember what it is. And I might even need these things.
Oh, you look cute in those glasses. Teresa, make you wear those glasses more.
I know. You know what? I'm going to give you a really good example if you can hold tight with me, but it's going to take me a second to look it up. Because I got to remember this.
I'm going to drink some water.
Have some water.
No pressure. I'm going to powder my forehead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a show on Peacock called Twisted Metal, based on the video game. It stars Anthony Mackie.
Okay.
And on the show, because it's set in this like post-apocalyptic world, there's an actress that I'm aware of that has a prosthetic arm.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember her name.
Prosthetic arm. I've seen it.
Yeah, here it is. Angel, and I never can pronounce Angel's last name correctly, but it's Giuffria.
Agorafia.
And I don't remember how I stumbled upon Angel. I was doing a search, and this is what I mean with the inclusion of everybody. Is when we were doing Call Me Cat, and we had like a bar patron, or a potential quick date for Max, because we had a lot of, like, for Cheyenne Jackson, he was playing the field, and we'd have a girl come in and dump him quickly or something. And I thought, well, she should be on that list, and we would have her read, and she does great work. She's a good actor. And so it wasn't they wrote a role for a one-armed person. It was me being open to knowing that a one-armed person can be somebody's date.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think you get the most inclusion, is not going, okay, these people, let's have them play this role, and these people play this role. It's all the people considered for all the roles.
I like that. Yeah. I'm not sure if she went on the show, but I watched a show called Vera, British show, obviously. It's been on for 12 years. Oh, it's good. You should check it out if you like that talk. And there is a woman that has a similar name, and she has that prosthetic arm, and she's a phenomenal actress. And I said, why in the heck? What took them so long to cast her on the show? And I think that so many actors, there are so many actors out there, but they're scared, Alan. They're scared to even try. They want to be actors, but they're scared because they've been rejected so many times for not being cast because of their disability.
Can I give you another example?
Yeah.
When Tapa Wingo premiered at the Virginia Film Festival, I went and saw some of the other programs. And I went to see a shorts program, because you get to see all these different filmmakers and different actors. Yeah. And it was a short called Millstone. And I actually recognized one of the actors in it. He's a deaf gentleman named Eddie Buck. And the three actors in the film, the whole film was subtitled, because all three actors in the film were signing, and they're all deaf actors. And the director, I found this out from the Q&A later, the director who's hearing has a son that is deaf, and the director was wanting to make more products that his son could see, where his son could see people that represented him on the screen. Right. And what was amazing, and what I thought was so good about Millstone, one, it was a great script. It reminded me of Black Mirror. It was it seemed like a normal story, and then there's that twist, and then it's dark, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The fact that the three actors were deaf had nothing to do with the story whatsoever. Eddie played a psychiatrist who was counseling a couple whose son had died.
Oh.
And them being deaf had nothing to do with it. And that's what he cast deaf actors. There's that boat story I was telling you about on Freebie. The lead actor, the girl playing his daughter, is deaf.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And when she shows up the first time, she's showing up to chastise him because he can't find the cat, and she's just signing to him. That's how you realize she's deaf.
She's deaf. Oh my God! Now I'm excited about that. But I don't know. You'd probably know more than I would. But in answer to Joanne's question, is there a company that specifically focuses on people who have the DEI issues? For example, for me, I'm a fluffy person, and say a casting director, yes, you want to cast blah blah blah, but what if you really need a large white woman, and you've tried to cast the normal way and it's not working? Is there a company where they have people who are in wheelchairs, people who use crutches, people who may have a Down syndrome, people with DII issues that you can go to as a casting director and say, you specialize in this. Kat, do you have any actors that you could submit? Is there a company like that right now? Because if not, I'm thinking of opening a company.
No, not really. There's two that come to mind, but with those two, every time, for the most part, when we've tried to find something unique, it really just comes through agents and managers, and enough agents and managers have that one client that they believe in, that they're trying to, get into Hollywood. The two I'm thinking of, unfortunately, one is KMR. KMR had
I've heard of them, yeah.
But unfortunately, they've been going through some rough times, and I don't know there's going to be a KMR anymore.
Oh.
There's another company we dealt with when we did Modern Family, and they focused on transgender actors.
Okay.
But this is going back to, I think, 2007. I worked on an NBC pilot called "I'm Was Stupid," and I was the casting assistant back then, and it was based on a British show, and 4 of the 7 series regulars were supposed to be people with disabilities. And through a lot of Mark Scott was the associate on that show. Through a lot of hard work, it was done by the Farley brothers, who were supposed to be directing it. And they ended up dropping out at some point, and we had another director. But we were calling around to different organizations in Los Angeles and said, is there anybody in your, disabled community that wants to be an actor? We go to SAG. Can you give us a list of everybody that's registered as a performer with a disability? And because we wanted to make certain we had seen everybody there before we hired what was called a walkie to play a wheelchair user. And we got very lucky. All 4 roles were performers with disability. Chris Thornton was the co-lead. Some people saw him on Hawaii Five-0. Was it? Yeah, it was Hawaii Five-0 that he was recurring on recently. And his claim to fame, he was on a Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David used the handicap stall. And when he comes out, there's Chris getting ready to just giving him grief.
Okay.
But he was in it. Who played Leah? I'm going back 20 years and trying to remember names. Daryl Chill Mitchell, who was on NCIS New Orleans, and he was on way back when he was on the John Larroquette show, which John Larroquette did after Night Court. And he's now a wheelchair user. He'd had a motorcycle accident like 15, 20 years ago. And he's a great actor, and like they offered him one of the roles. But with that, it really is, you just look and you look and you look and you think, how can I find somebody? What organizations, like with deaf actors, there's a Deaf West in Los Angeles, or there was at one point, I'm assuming they're still around. And you would call Deaf West and go, who are all the deaf actors? And they would, tell you everybody that was currently acting with them or had acted with them previously to help you out.
Because I think that was a wonderful opportunity right now. And someone had approached me about the possibility of that. And I don't know what the legalities are, because I imagine that is ridden with legal problems or potential problems as a person to open the company. But I mean, altruistically, I really think that would be fantastic if there was one company where casting directors could go to and find anybody that they wanted, and they could not find. They've exhausted their efforts, and they could find a centralized casting location for the actors. So I'm looking into that. It's a huge investment, and I'm going to have to think about that. Do you think that would be a good idea? Or, as you said, if people call around, then eventually they would find somebody? Would it be easier to just call and a one-stop shop kind of thing?
Well, you would think so, but then we've turned you into the casting director.
Ooh, that's something to think about. I'm going to call you into my legal meeting when we possible problems. I've turned into the casting director. Yeah. All right. Now, do you, this is from Linda Walker Ranger. Oh my God, that's like Texas Walker Ranger. Linda Walker Ranger. Oh my God. Oh my God. But she's from Hill, Vermont. So that's very far from Texas. Hey, Alan, can you walk me through your process for assessing the suitability of actors for a particular role? What the hell does that mean?
I know how to answer that one. It'll take me
Good.
about a 2 or 3 minute example.
What is she asking?
No, just how we determine who we're going to bring in, I think, and how we determine who's the best people for the role.
Okay.
I think that's what Linda's looking for.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll go with that because I mean, especially if you have like 5 or 10 people. Yeah, I'll let you take it. Go ahead. Yeah. So, I'm ready to answer it as casting director over here. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So season 7 of Modern Family, Phil goes with Alex to Caltech, and they end up in the robot lab. Phil presses a button, all the robots come to life. And this exceptionally nerdy kid comes over and goes, "You pushed the button. Why would you do that?" Okay. The literal name of the role was Exceptionally Nerdy Kid. So we put out a breakdown and we got 800 submissions. And I'm going through the submissions, and the first thing that eliminated people was that they were 25 thinking they played 18. And sure, on Freeform on the CW, they're 35 playing 18. Yeah. But on Modern Family, the actors like Ariel Winter, who was playing Alex, they were the age they were playing for the most part. And so while you're 25 and think you look 18, when you stand next to an actual 18-year-old, you look 25.
Yeah.
Then the second thing is everybody's got a headshot with glasses. And the only people that should have a headshot with glasses are those that wear glasses. For everybody else, this is what happens. I'll see them with the glasses, and I'm like, okay, Clark Kent, take those glasses off. I know you're Superman. And I swear to you, I will click on like the photos, like the other photos, because actors will put up like 10, 20 photos. Yeah. And I clicked on the other photos for this person with the glasses, and the first photo, shirt off, 12-pack at the beach, glistening in the sun. And I'm like, dude, nerdy kids, don't know what a 12-pack is, and exceptionally nerdy kids don't know what the sun is. Next. Okay. So I go through the 800, and now I've chose like 80 people. That's too many. We're going to see like 20 to 30 people to pre-read for this, 1-line, 2-line role. So of the 80 people, I'm now going through them again, and amongst their peers, some of the submissions that seemed good now seem like Johnny Galecki on Big Bang Theory. I'm looking for Jim Parsons. Okay. So that puts people in a first wave and a second wave. And then there's those that I'm on the fence about. I'm like, I can't tell. So the first thing I see beneath your headshot is who you're repped by. And the rep will sometimes let you go into the first wave because I trust them more so than other people. There's no rhyme or reason to that. There's no logic to it. It's just 20 years of doing it. I know who I like personally. I know who I trust, and they get preference. And it's just chemistry connections, nothing you can actually predict. And if there's not that, then I click on the resume and I'm looking for a film credit, a TV credit, theater credit, training, something that lets me think that you're more qualified than somebody else I don't know or don't remember. That's the same category. And then if nothing there is a hook that makes me put you in the first wave, you end up in the second wave waiting for the first wave to fail.
Wow.
But you're still ahead of 720 people that I didn't even select.
Wow. Wow. Those are excellent tips to know, because I get asked so many questions. Why would he choose this person over this person when they look exactly alike? And I said, but they're not. You can look alike, but then the training, they're looking for a certain training. They're looking for this. They're like, oh my gosh, just common sense things that people should be thinking about that they're not.
And Big Bang is a really good example of that, because you can say we want a nerd, and then my question is, what kind of nerd?
Kind of nerd, because they're all nerds.
Yeah. Do you want the cool nerd that gets to marry Penny?
Yeah, Penny.
Yeah. Do you want the really extremely crazy nerd that gets a prequel made out of him? Do you want a Wolowitz? Do you want a Koothrappali? What kind of nerd are you looking for? Because those are 4 very distinct, different nerds. Right. And it's not just a nerd; it's what kind of nerd.
Oh my God! So you just brought that show up. that is kind of like the blueprint for me on the blossoming out of the nerd, of what kind of nerd. I was
Wait. I'm sorry. Blossom with Mayim Bialik.
Oh. Now I love talking about a show. I'm very sad that Young Sheldon is ending. I don't know why I spun off onto that thought process from The Big Bang. Is somebody on there that was no one's on there for it's narrated by Jim Parsons.
Yeah.
That's why I went there. But the character, little Sheldon, young Sheldon, he's changed so much. I can't imagine that it would be able to go on, because he's just not the same anymore, and he's not expected to be the same. But I've been saving up. I haven't watched one episode. I'm going to wait for the whole season to record and then watch it. But that's another show that was brilliant. Wasn't that a brilliantly written show? You didn't cast on that.
Oh,
that
I wish.
No,
It was Ken Miller and Nikki Valco with I think Peter Pappas worked on that with them.
Oh, yeah.
They did an excellent job on that show.
Oh my God, I love it. All right, last question. I got 5 more, but I'm only going to do one more. I hope I'm choosing the right one. Oh, they're both so good. All right, this is from Lyle from Little Dairy, Louisiana. Okay. Imagine, Alan, that you have 10 actors auditioning for a role, and none of them have the right look for the character, as I have in many things I've gotten to audition. Okay. How would you go about, not me, this is what he said. Lyle said, how would you go about finding a suitable actor for that role? I think we kind of covered that in something you said before. You just keep going, right?
Yeah, you just keep going. There is always more actors to read. There's exceptions to that rule, but there's so many people that want to be an actor. There's so many people, pursuing acting. There's so many people that work as actors that you really, it's hard to run out of ideas. It really is. You get into a situation where, like in Tapa, Wingo, Paul and George Basaris play. What's the name of their characters? But they're twins, and they play a role that's twins in the movie. Twins you run out of.
Oh yeah.
There's a finite number of twins out there, and I thank God that George and Paul were submitted and put on this planet, because they are excellent in Tapa Wingo. And if it wasn't for them, I might still be looking and banging my head against a wall.
Wow. Now you got us so excited about Tapa Wingo, and now we're just counting down the days. All right. Because that was a question, I'm going to just do one more, only because this was submitted 3 times. Wow.
Okay.
All right. Hey, it's Ivy, Alan. Hey, Ivy. Imagine that you are casting for a theater production, and 2 actors have great talent, but they don't seem to be able to work together very well. How would you approach this problem? I don't think that's a casting director problem, is it?
It's not, but I'll be glad to dive in and try to answer it.
Okay,
because I will say, when we're casting, it's not often that you have actors read together. You're casting each role individually, and then you're crossing your fingers and praying that they'll have chemistry on set, or there won't be friction. But when when there's friction, you either got to figure out how to make it work for the characters and just add it to it somehow, or you got to replace one of the 2 people.
Yeah. Have you ever had that happen on any of the shows that you've worked on, where you've had to replace it? Like, did anybody pull somebody's weave out?
No.
Were there any black eyes?
No, we just had people that they showed up on set and it just didn't click for some reason. With Modern Family, there's 2 extremely well-known actors. One of which is the lead of a series, and I'm not going to say their names. They might be in the book. There's a Modern Family book. I got to read it to see what's in it, so I'll know what I can actually talk about. But there's two, I mean, work all the time actors that they got cast, they showed up to set, it didn't click for whatever crazy reason because they're brilliant and everything else is brilliant. It just didn't work and they got replaced. And
both of them.
Yeah, both. Well, and those were the two big name ones. We replaced some other people.
Wow.
Yeah, we replaced a few people on Call Me Cat as well, unfortunately.
Oh,
And
really?
Yeah, and it's just something happens sometimes. The biggest one, everybody hopefully has heard about it, is Back to the Future. Eric Stoltz was Marty McFly, and they filmed for weeks.
Yes, he originally was Marty McFly. We talked about that at the on Glee. Yes.
Yeah. And Eric Stoltz is he's a great actor, but he's just not that role. And
he definitely should not be upset because Michael J. Fox was meant for that role.
I worked on one show called Four Kings. It lasted like 9 episodes. We did the pilot. We didn't do the series. And they cast an actor. He was the first one of the 4 guys cast. Of the 4 Kings. It was 4 friends, 4 guys that had known each other since they were 12. And we cast a wonderful actor that works to this day. And he started coming in and chemistry reading with the other actors that were reading for the other roles. And in doing so, the producers were like, oh, I'm not seeing him for this role as much anymore. And all of a sudden, he gets let go and paid. He still gets paid.
Yeah.
And then they replaced him with another actor that was very charismatic. And you just, he's in the room and you're like, I just want to be this guy's friend. I just want to go have a drink with him and hang out with him. This guy is awesome. Unfortunately, he was not that good with sitcoms. So 3 days into rehearsals, that's when they realized, you love him. He's a great actor. He's not a sitcom actor. He gets replaced. And then they offered it to the actor that ended up playing the role in the series. But it's just, there's occasionally, a rare occasion, the actor is not doing what they should be doing, a rare occasion. But typically, it's just the art of it.
Yeah.
That you can't really, you try to predict. And if you're good at casting, you're good at predicting it most of the time. But sometimes you run into something where it just doesn't click.
Right.
And then you have to do the really, oh my God, I'm going to hell. When we were doing Superior Donuts and Modern Family, in the same week, 1 per show, we fired 12-year-olds.
No.
Yes.
How could what would have happened? Oh, maybe they were acting up, being 12 years old. That's what they do. It just
didn't click. They did really well at the audition, and then when it came time to be on set with the other actors, the chemistry and all of that just didn't. Now, the one that was on Superior Donuts, we were fortunate. The producers felt awful as well, and we managed to find a role for him before the show was canceled. But we weren't able to rectify the Modern Family one, so I'm going to hell.
No, that's weird that you said that. There was a pilot with Jason Biggs called I'm in Hell that I got actually cast for as an office, like the show The Office, where they had the different characters, the heavyset lady with the glasses. Well, I guess they were trying to go for that sort of thing. But so I actually got cast. It was a pilot. I got cast. I did my line opposite Jason Biggs. Chemistry was great. They're like, if this takes off, the spiel. Oh, we're going to bring you back and we're going to give you a role. But unfortunately, the pilot never sold. But on the set, Jason Biggs, who I love from American Pie, that's just him. We started talking. And I didn't, normally it's not professional to talk to actors on the set, but if they come up and talk to you, which a lot of them do, I think that's okay. I mean, what are you going to say? No, yes, no. But he came up to me, it was on our break, and he said, oh, don't stand too close to those champagne glasses, because on the last, something about somebody bumped into him and knocked him over. And so he had started the conversation with me. And so we were talking, and I said, oh, by the way, I don't know if I should say this to you, but I have a funny story about Allison Hannigan. Now, you know that she was in American Pie.
Yeah.
And I said, I got called by my agent to go on an audition for her movie. Oh God. Oh, what was it called? Oh geez. I'll think of it. But it was for a role that I couldn't believe my dream had come true. Remember in the movie 7-Year Itch with Marilyn Monroe when she's standing on the grate and the wind blows up her white skirt? Okay. So when I was little, Alan, I always said, oh, I wish I was Marilyn Monroe and I was in that movie and the grate blew up my skirt. Flash forward however many decades, my agent says, Priscilla, I want you to go to, wouldn't even tell me what I was going out for. He would just send me and I would just go because it was fun. This was a long time ago when it was fun. So I would just show up. So I showed up and it was, to this particular audition, and I ended up getting that role with Jason Biggs. And then he sent me to another one, and it was for Allison Hannigan's movie, in which there were all these big white people, right? And I was in this room, and I went to sit in a chair, and this girl put her purse on the chair so that I couldn't sit there. So I was like, okay, no big deal. So I just went and sat in the corner of the room, and this guy was sitting in the next chair, and I didn't know who he was. He was just writing, and then he said, well, she was a bitch, wasn't she? Well, I said, well, people do that. And so we start talking. I didn't know who he was, Alan. I didn't know he was talking, and we got on the subject. I did not know. We were talking about our favorite shows, and two of mine are Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, that were on at that time. So I was telling him how I said, oh my God, I'm so upset that Allison Hannigan got flayed because they had just flayed her in the scene. And he's like, yeah, so we're talking. So then the person comes out to say next, and it was me. Alan, I walked in, and it was Allison Hannigan, and I was up for the role. I knew I was going for the role of a body double, but I'm like, why the hell why would JR send me out on an audition for a role as a body double? Allison is 5'6", she's petite, but then I realized it was because she was playing the role of being a large woman first, and then she loses weight. So I just stand there, and I was trying to be professional, not look at her and go, oh my God, I just watched you. But you don't do that. Sure enough, she's so nice and kind. And she said, oh, hi, I'm Allison. Thank you. And then there was someone signaling her from behind. She goes, oh, excuse me one sec. So she went and talked to the guy and I turned around, and it was the guy that I was talking to. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to get kicked off of this set because I said something. Oh my God. And sure enough, he had told her how I was an obsessive fan of Buffy and Angel. And sure enough, I got cast for that role as the body double. And when I came out, that woman who had put her purse there, I went, and I gave her the snuff. And she was up for that role, which I did not know. But yeah, so, I got to meet Alexis Denisoff, her husband at the time, remember? Right. Wonderful, wonderful guy. And she and I ended up becoming friends on the set. And I told her, I promise I'm going to watch, what was that sitcom that she had about mother?
Yeah, How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother. And I promised her I would watch that. It's still on my to-do list, but I'm going to do it. But it's just weird how casting situations happen. What has been your weirdest, most bizarre, freaky casting situation, whether it was with an actor or someone, project, whatever you can think of?
I'll go with the recent one. There's, all sorts of little weird ones, But with Tapa Wingo, I was done. I'd finished casting it. And my wife and I had driven to Vegas to just have some fun.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, my phone blows up from my director. He's like, I can't find this. Can you help me find a nunchuck specialist to be a body double for Jay Pichardo? Jay's plays John Heater's best friend in the film. And I'm like, a nunchuck specialist in the Richmond, Virginia area? Are you kidding? and so I just texted him back and said, well, let me see what I can do. But inside I'm like, what? And all I did was I sent some emails to the agents in the local area that I, made connections with while doing the film. And one of them went, oh yeah, I got a guy. Let me get you his video. Sent me the video. I sent it to the director. And then Dylan texts me back. He goes, oh, sorry, false alarm. Stunt guys found somebody.
Oh, oh my God, I would have been so upset. Oh, wow.
Well, I used to get upset by little things like that, but but I've learned to be like, I found a nunchuck specialist in the Richmond area while living in Los Angeles. I was like patting myself on the back.
And you can put him on your list because you never know in the future when you're going to need a nunchuck specialist, right?
I know. You don't
know. You never know. So as a casting director, what are the tips that you could give for new actors starting from the audition process, the do's and don't? Give me a couple do's and a couple don'ts. Like, you don't ever want to do this, but you do want to do this.
Well, the number one thing you got to do is do the script as written. And when I say that, I mean like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
If you do a Shakespeare show, do you add oh, well, so do you paraphrase Shakespeare? Do you add your, improvisation? No, you don't. You don't.
No.
And Shakespeare's been around for 500 years. That should be the rule. There's exceptions to the rule. There are times you could improvise, but do the script as written. And then, to me, at its simplest, acting is making the faults believable. And if you can figure out how to take what is obviously false, because you're acting, and make us believe it's true, then you're a magician. That's what you've got to do. And I think the number one thing you have to ask when looking at the script is, why am I saying this? Why am I saying it this way? Why am I saying these words? Why are me and the other character interacting in this way? It's all about the why. There's some what you're saying. There's, where it is. There's, the other, who, how, those things. But if you can figure out why these people are connected, that's the spark that makes the magic. And that's what you got to focus on is why you're saying stuff. I saw there's a coach that specializes in memorization, and I'm blanking on her name off the top of my head.
I need that coach.
But she said, if you don't know why you're saying these words, you will not be able to remember these words. And that just stuck with me.
That could help me.
But the things not to do are silly things that are like, duh. A recent one is, I would say, do not sing your dialogue.
Do not sing your dialogue. Oh my God, that's taught in theater acting.
Yeah. Well, no, we had somebody send in a self-tape for Call Me Kat for a speaking role, not a musical number, not a song, but actual dialogue. And they sung the whole thing, which I guess they thought was a bold choice, which it was, but it was not what we were looking for. Oh, I'll give you a better one. We did, I think it was season 3, Cameron's clown mentor died. And they had the clown funeral, and we had to find all these clowns to be pallbearers and play roles. Bobby Cannavale was in the episode.
Oh, I love it.
And when we were doing the auditions, we said, either bring us a headshot of you in your clown persona so we can see what you look like, or just show up in full clown regalia. And so we had 20 actors come in, and 19 of them just head to toe dressed like a clown. And it was my birthday. It was awesome. But the 20th actor, he showed up as Elmo. And he was head to toe in red fur. His head was there. He wasn't wearing the head. He had the Elmo head. He was, he was holding it in his arm. And and I went into Jeff and I said, Jeff, okay, I don't have no idea what's going on here. He's dressed as Elmo, and Jeff's like, who's Elmo? And I'm like trying to explain to him who Elmo is. And I said, but it's my birthday, and so I've got 19 clowns and an Elmo. I am so excited, even though this is the craziest thing ever. And so the guy comes in and we're like, okay, we're looking for clowns. He's like, yeah, I don't do clowns. I do costume characters. He goes, but my agent said just to come on over and meet you, it would be a good thing. And we looked at him. We went, fire your agent. Wait. Okay, I got the best. I can top that. Wait. Now that I'm on a roll, I can top that.
Wow.
So you don't go to an audition for clowns dressed as Elmo. Duh.
Right.
We were looking for a magician for Modern Family that could act. And we ended up making an offer to Penn Jillette, and he took it. But we were just reading actors that claimed they could do magic. We were reading magicians that claimed they could act. And this guy comes in, I swear to you, he was Abraham Lincoln tall. Tall man. And he comes in and he got one of those old satchels where it's, the rectangular kind of briefcase, but it's got you lift the lid, reach down inside.
Yeah.
So he sits down, he puts that satchel in front of him, he lifts the lid, reaches in, pulls a cat out. A live, breathing cat, puts the cat on his shoulder and sits there and prepares to do the scene.
Oh.
And Jeff, as calmly as he could, Jeff goes, what are you doing? He goes, oh, this is my cat. My cat goes with me everywhere. He goes, yeah. Jeff goes, yeah, the scene's on a plane. And the guy goes, yeah, I take the cat with me on the plane. And Jeff goes, okay, do the scene. And so the guy did the scene, and he was a magician. He was not an actor. And he stood up at the end of the scene, Abraham Lincoln tall. The cat jumped off of his shoulder into the briefcase. He closed it up. Okay. This is the crazy pinnacle to the story. I walk outside. I'm like Jeff, I need a moment. So I walk outside, I get on my cell phone. I call Teresa. I'm like, Teresa, you won't believe this. And I tell her the whole story. And she goes, was his name Fig? I went, yeah, his name was Fig. She goes, oh, I know that guy. We used to hang out with him. Crazy man. And she goes, oh yeah, that's him. He brings that cat with him everywhere.
What are the chances? Oh God.
Insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I bet you have so many stories because you've been doing this for the longest time. But that one, I got to say, that one is a topper. I don't know. I don't think I've never, now that they have casting, I keep wanting to call it eco casting. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's EcoCast.
EcoCast. Okay. You don't have to deal with that, but a lot of times this is a good question because I'm conflicted on giving an answer with that. They don't have to deal with it that much anymore. Okay, so it may not be applicable, but when actors would come into the traditional casting rooms, they automatically would come up, a lot of them, not all, but would come up to the casting director. They want to shake their hands and they want to talk about everything. Yeah. Oh, I love that sweater. Oh, did you experience that back in the day? And then they come in with the perfume on and the cologne, and they want to talk, and then they invite you to dinner and lunch, and it was.
I'll say I'm lucky. I don't have that good of a sense of smell. Jeff does. It would drive Jeff insane when they had too much cologne or too much perfume.
Yeah.
But, the talky ones would happen not that often, but the shake the hand thing would happen repeatedly. And usually it's crazy. The person that wanted to shake your hand was the person with the sweatiest hand. But I mean, everything that's awful, like the pandemic, can have a ray of, sunshine.
Yes.
The ray of sunshine is nobody shakes hands anymore.
Yes. Real quick, and then we're going to wrap it up. A lot of people, no matter how many years I've been doing this show, and I tell these actors, please do not go on the set. If you're lucky to be cast, please don't go on the set and try to take selfies with the actors. Let's talk this, but it still amazes me. I have my little celebrity friends and my actor friends who are like the stars of the show, and they said, Priscilla, it happened again. It happened again. I'm like, no. So can you try to help again by telling what the don'ts are of proper on-set etiquette? For me, I'm going to put it out there. Do not try to take selfies with the celebrity actors or any actors during the set. What do you have?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends if
they ask, yeah, but
yeah,
how many?
When I first moved to Los Angeles, I did background work, and I'd done background work in Atlanta. And so as a background actor, you should sit, do what you're told, talk, when you're in the holding area, you can talk amongst yourselves and have a good time. But on set, I remember there was this a show on the WB called Savannah, and it was a Aaron Spelling soap opera. Ray Wise was the patriarch of the show. And I remember standing there going, oh my God, it's Ray Wise. Oh my God, I love Ray Wise. This is awesome. Yeah. But I wouldn't have never said anything to him, but somebody else came up to him because it was filmed in Atlanta. And they were like, sir, I just want you to know, we saw your movie last night. You were awesome. And Ray Wise is like, oh, yeah. He's very polite man, very polite. He goes, oh, which movie? And they were like, how does he not know which movie he was on the TV last night? Was he not watching? But and if you're a co-star actor, you just got to read, who's there. There'll be some sets where the regulars want to come over and talk to you and make you feel welcome. There's others that it's punching the clock, it's doing that. If you're a guest star, then there's going to be a lot more camaraderie because you're going to be sitting there in Video Village. There was I'll leave you with this. Modern Family, they the first episode we did with Stephen Merchant, where they all went to Las Vegas. And I went over to watch the set because they filmed half of it in Vegas and half of it they built everything on stage. And Ty Burrell is there with Eric Stone Street and Stephen Merchant, and the three of them are just riffing. And they're just talking. And Stephen Merchant and Ty Burrell are just they're not trying to one-up each other. They're just so funny that it's just, they're sitting there in Video Village watching it. And Patton Oswalt, who was also in the episode, he was actually on the set, which was a hotel room, and he had laid down for a moment because he just wanted to rest.
Yes.
And the rest of them were watching him on the video, going, "He's taking another nap. What's he doing?" And just good-natured ribbing. But it's just while Ty and Eric were obviously stars of the show, Stephen Merchant and Patton Oswalt are just as famous. And they just were having a good time telling each other their stories and getting to know each other, knowing somebody that they were fans of that they just didn't get to know. And so when you get to that level, that's what's awesome. Or just to sit there, when it's a polite set and you're a co-star actor and the actors are welcoming, it just makes you more at ease.
Yeah, it is.
I'll give you one more. This is from my wife, Teresa. She did background work for NCIS LA. And she said, everybody that came on that set, and especially when they had visitors, LL Cool J would go over and introduce himself and say hi to them. Because he's been doing this so long, there's so many people that get starstruck. I mean, I went to one of their rap parties, and I'm like, oh my God, it's LL Cool J. I'm freaking out, and I've been doing this forever. And so he just would put people at ease so they would know he's a human being like the rest of us. And he just wanted them to have a good time and feel like they were part of the show that they all enjoyed doing. So it's that's when you get somebody like him and others that are just seem appreciative and grateful and know that they're living a blessed life because of they've worked hard and they've tried to do well, but there's so much luck involved that you just have to be thankful that the luck shined on you and then you capitalized on it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always opportunity to get more good karma and have up your chi points, right? But so I would definitely say do not approach the actors if you're an extra or maybe have a walk-on. Let them approach you. Obvious things: be on time. Don't wear perfume. I mean, these are common sense, but I'm telling you, Alan, you'd be amazed at how many common sense things do not apply to some people. I was trying to think of maybe some experience unique things, like things that I wouldn't even know about, that you as a casting director have come across that you gotta warn them. I will say, when you go on the audition, do not, or on the set, do not participate in gossip, because from the moment you go into audition, these casting people are listening to you. Listening. I remember I had one friend that is now a casting director, but she was an assistant. I met her like when I first came here in 1992. And she said, Priscilla, I'm going to tell you now, make sure you tell these actors that we are always listening. The casting people, we're listening to what you're talking about with the other actors. And I myself, many times when I went into auditions, I'd be sitting there and actors would be talking amongst themselves. And of course, it's always who they know, what they worked on, you know, the typical stuff. But then you would hear like they were talking so bad about what is that beautiful actress with the she's got a lot of freckles, Tara no, oh, well, she was in the movie, that the remake of the old Haley and Ashley Mills movie from the 60s about the switching mothers. I can't remember her name.
Okay. I'm sort of knowing who you're talking about.
She got hooked on drugs really bad and alcohol.
You got to be more specific.
Yeah. Gosh, I can't remember.
No,
Anyway,
she
has a lot. She was the star of Mean Girls. Mean Girls. Yeah, she was the star. Beautiful, beautiful girl. I cannot remember.
Lindsay Lohan?
Lindsay Lohan. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yes. So they were saying, oh my God, you should have seen her close up and talking about the girls. I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you be talking about someone like that? And so my tip is, do not participate in gossip, because my friend who was the casting assistant at that time went in and told the casting director, and they said, oh, you know what? We're done with casting for today, which they weren't, but they just got him out of there, because that's exactly what they were going to be doing, Alan, on the set.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my unique tip. Don't participate in gossip ever. Nothing.
But I would say that's true to life.
Yes, it is. But you got it, as our beloved Kenny Rogers said, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. You know when to walk away and know when to run. Never count the money. You got to know that if you're sitting in a casting office, are they not going to be listening to you? Yeah, everybody's always listening, right? So that's my tip. But as far as what do you see, our last question, and this is very important to get your thoughts on this. I'm a little worried about the actors for the future, because I'm sure you've heard of the new way of making movies. It's called immersive casting. And it has been sparked by the invention of the, those glasses that the gamers use.
Yeah.
What are they called? Those IVF. I want to say IVF.
Virtual reality.
No, it's not. Yeah, virtual reality. Okay. So now the next wave from my friend, he's the CEO of a company that has been approached by a studio, which I will not name, but the studio, major studio, said, actors get on my damn nerves. I'm sick of them and their egos. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Tell me, is there any way in the future that there's going to be a way for us to have AI that look so much like actors, like it did in Star Wars with Princess Leia and it was the guy, Harrison Ford. We would rather have voiceover actors and deal with them than the real actors sometimes because they're such divas. So my friend said, you don't worry about it. In about 10 years, this was about 10 years ago, in about 10 years, we're going to be doing what's called immersive casting. We're going to be making immersive films, and you will first see them when the crop of the glasses come out. God, I don't know what they're called, but they wear them and they do the video games, and you can watch YouTube and do all kinds of stuff. Well, sure enough, now Facebook has made their very first movie with immersive casting, and they well, I don't know how to explain it because I don't know too much about it other than they can take real people, and you don't even have to they don't even have to be actors because they put some sort of an immersive filter or layer over them if they're not giving the emotion that they want. And that's the future of casting. Have you heard about that?
I have not.
Okay.
But okay, what I will equate it to, I have a limited
You've
knowledge.
heard of it, right?
Well, I have a limited knowledge, but that does not stop me from having an opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
I'm joking. No. I way back in the day, I actually have a degree in computer science from the Georgia Institute of Technology.
Ah.
So I have some really arcane computer knowledge. I also did motion capture for a video game once.
Okay.
Laura Schiff was working on a video game. I think it was her and Carrie Audino, called L.A. Noire. And they called me because they had like 300 roles to cast, and they just offered me a 4-line role in the video game.
Oh.
So I'm in the game, and it's what you're talking about. They filmed me sitting there doing the lines, basically my head, and then they put animation on top that looks like me, and then just animated the body completely, and I'm a CGI character in this video game. So that sounds like what the immersive is. You still need actors like Avatar. Zoe Saldana's in Avatar, but she doesn't look like Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
And it's all CGI'd over. Or Andy Serkis,
Yeah.
doing Gollum, doing Planet of the Apes. So I think even if there's things like that come about, they'll still need actors, still need voice actors.
Voiceover actors.
And I want to see them do CGI on a stage with the play on Broadway. And when I see that, then I'll be worried.
How the heck would you do that? You can't do that. Yeah, maybe theater is going to be the last. It's going to be the last hurrah.
Yeah, but I will say, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I loved Rogue One.
Oh,
I thought Rogue One was one of the best of the new films. Was the best of the new films, but the CGI Carrie Fisher in there looks like a CGI person to me.
Yeah.
CGI
what
Peter
year
Cushing.
was that though? Maybe that was their inception.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay.
Because
did you see the Harrison Ford, the new it did look like him when he was young.
It did, but it didn't convince me 100%. I'm like, this is some good CGI.
Yeah.
But I didn't go, oh my God, where did they find footage of Harrison Ford? The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, this is some good CGI. And that doesn't pull you into the film. That makes you watch it. A good film like Raiders of the Lost Ark, you were invested in that film. You're on the edge of your seat with that film. With something new like this, the technology is so good that you're looking and marveling at the technology. You're not getting invested in the film and want to go watch it.
That is what I was doing. You are right, because I couldn't focus on. I had to tell Albert, what did he say? What happened? What's going on? Because I was so busy looking at the CGI, thinking, "Wow, that looks just like it when he was young." You're absolutely right. I'm wondering if we get more used to it as the years go on, if that's something that will dissolve, and we will accept that. But AI is coming fast and furious, people. So be on your best behavior, or start focusing on becoming a voiceover actor, because that might be the only gig in town. Now, you're a huge, I still have that book you gave me, which is on
The
my
Star Trek one?
Yes, I have it. It's my coffee book along with my Hollywood book. 2 coffee books. Only 2 I have on the table.
Hold on. I'll show you what I got right here.
Ah! Oh my God. Albert would lose his mind over that. Where did you get it?
This is a new issue, came out last month. It's where they take, it's let's hear, Jake Sisko, it's Worf's son, and one of the Ferengi kids, and they put them all together in one book called Sons of Star Trek.
Oh, can you flip through it so I can see what's in it? Just
okay. I haven't read it yet, so no spoilers. Don't tell me what you're going to see.
No, just flip. I want to see if there's big. Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah.
Beautiful graphics. Oh my gosh! Now Albert's gonna say, "I want that for my birthday." I'm gonna have Would you send me the link to that so I can buy that for him?
Yeah. There's a couple of good ones recently that I'll send you.
Oh yeah, because he's die hard, hardcore Star Wars, Star Trek, you name it. But I wanted to thank you so much for taking time to give our actors some help. I mean, casting is so important, and you really do need to know. I mean, yes, you have to have the look, you have to have the talent and the skill set, but there are other things that you need to be aware of, like we were talking about set etiquette. And I didn't even touch upon headshots now, because I had my friend say, "Oh, ask Alan, does it matter if it's black or white?" And I said, or color, or I want to do character, are they back in? And I said, well, he's not a headshot specialist, but maybe you could just end with that. What's going to grab you to a picture?
It just needs to look like you, and it needs to show who you are. That's all. I saw a agent once, this is a seminar years ago, and somebody asked, how many headshots do we need? And he goes, well, if I can't sell you with one headshot, I'm not doing my job.
I like that.
And going back to I click on the other photos and I see the guy with the 12-pack in the sun because he thinks he's a nerd. I will see a photo and it won't feel genuine to me. And I will click on the other photos and I get from the other photos an amalgam of who you really are. Or I'll find one photo, and I hate to say it, it's usually the least flattering one.
Yeah.
And that's probably what you really look like.
Wait, is it okay? Are you picky? Are most casting directors picky these days with you just taking a picture on your phone? Because it's so expensive for beginning actors. And why do they need to spend $500, $1,000 for headshots when phones take pictures just as good? Can you tell the difference?
Oh, okay. If it's a bad photo, I can't tell you if it's because it was an iPhone or a bad photographer.
Right.
But I'm of 2 minds. One is, yes, you can take one with your iPhone. It's fine if you can get the lighting right, if you can, get the framing right, if you can, feel relaxed as you're trying to take your own photo. I agree. Some headshot photographers probably charge too much money, or it seems like a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
But what the best ones are good at is making you relax and capturing your essence. And that was a harder skill when it was film and you only had like 32 or 36 shots for the role. Where with the digital stuff now, you can just click, 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 and hope you capture some magic. A photographer knows how to capture the magic without having to hit click 100 times. They just hit click once when they know they've got the right shot.
Would you look at a picture that was sent by someone who they just didn't want to do a serious look, and they wanted to do, like, I remember I have many friends who are celebrity photographers, and I look through their pictures, and I remember, I won't say the actor's name, but I thought whoever came up with that was brilliant. I loved it. But then she said, no, you don't really want to send that. A casting director's not gonna, they're going to get offended looking at that. I thought it was great. What it was, the photographer went up on a ladder of some really high, like maybe 5 feet higher than the actor, and shot down, and the person was looking up. But you could tell that person was looking. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it Superman? It was that good of a look. It was, and I'll never forget it. And I thought that was great because you could see the ladder was there. The photographer didn't take the ladder out. The guy actually had his hand on the ladder and he's just looking up, and you could see him looking at something. Is that too kitschy? Would you say, oh, I won't even look at his stuff?
Well, I wouldn't say I wouldn't look at it because I have to look at it to say I don't like it. So, but I would say that probably could have been a great photo. It is not a great headshot.
Yeah, because you do want to keep it at, do you really? Yeah.
Because a great headshot should be about you.
Yeah.
And what I should read in the photo is something about you.
Yeah.
Where a great photo, I'm not focused on the subject of the photo necessarily. I'm focused on what the artist, that's the photographer, is trying to convey to us.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Because I tend to gravitate when we're casting for our films, I tend to gravitate towards looking at people who do unusual things. I just don't want to see a smile, or I want to look at somebody who goes like that. I know it's tacky, but I like that. And I guess everybody's different. I'm going to look at the unusual, quirky ones before I'm going to look at the serious ones. I don't want to see sadness. I don't want to see that you're jaded and bitter and that you can't afford a can of tuna fish. I want to see you're happy and you're bright and you're thinking something clever or creative, but no duck lips. We're over the duck lips, aren't we, Alan?
I never was into them, so I didn't have to get over them.
You never did. Well, Alan, my God, thank you so much for coming on the show. You are a person who people could talk to, and I'm sure this is a curse and a blessing for you because you have a personality where people could just talk to you for 12.2 hours nonstop and never get tired of talking to you. You are by nature a manifesto of humor and glee and brightness. And you've inspired me to watch Frasier. So that's what you've done for me today. So I want to thank you for that. And is there anything else exciting coming up? I mean, as if you don't already have a ton of things. You've got, the movie and you're casting for Frasier. Are you anything on the horizon, like any other movie projects?
No, I'm just excited to start back to work on Monday after being out of work for almost a year. So
why? Because of the pandemic still?
No, because of the strikes.
Oh, that's right. The strikes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank God they're not going to have one for about another 10 years. I don't foresee.
I start work on Monday. We'll go through the end of July, and that's going to be.
Are you here in LA?
It films in LA.
Oh, you're shooting Frasier here in LA, but they're in Boston. But you can
no. It's set in Boston, but they do film it at Paramount Studios, just like they did Cheers and Frasier. But no,
I want to come to Paramount and you take us around on a little tour.
Well, hold on, I got to make my list. Star Trek comics and audience member of Frasier. Okay. I'm all good.
Oh, could we be an audience member?
I might know somebody that could hook you up.
Oh, wow. That would be good. Albert would just love it. Okay. Whatever you can do is fine. If not, I think there's a company called Audience Unlimited, but they usually do game shows. They might not do that. But yeah, see what you can do, Mr. Allen. Thank you so much for being on the show. Mwah, 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 mwah. To you and Teresa.
Thank you.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
You're listening to Question Reality with Priscilla Leona.